I call this meeting to order. And just a reminder to those of you in the audience, if you haven't already done so, please sign in either now or before you leave. So this is the June 8th, 2016 Nottingham Planning Board meeting. I'd like to start off by going around the table and having everyone introduce themselves. Starting with Mr. Davies.
Robert Davies, alternate.
Trace Bascom.
Charlene Anderson,
Edward Veal.
Susan Mooney,
Gary Anderson.
And Paul Coley, Code Administrator.
And for the record, Mr. Davies will be seated and voting for Mr. Grotenhuis tonight. So we have a number of cases on the agenda for tonight. As you can see in your the members here in our pamphlet, in our booklet here, we have a few letters from the applicants for case P16-004-SUB, which was a continuation for J&L Terra Holding for a conventional 5-lot subdivision on Smoke Street. The applicant has requested that we an extension until our next meeting. They asked for a 2-week extension.
Actually, you need to open the public hearing.
Oh, sorry.
And then, yeah, let's just want to make sure we're doing it legal.
So let me open the public hearing, which is actually continued from our last hearing. So we're opening the public hearing for case P16-004-SUB. This application from J&L Terra Holding, Inc. for a conventional 5-lot subdivision on 20.331 acres on Smoke Street, Nottingham, New Hampshire. Property is identified as tax map 10, lot 4, sublot 1. Now that said, we have a letter from the applicant, J&L Terra Holdings, Inc. Do I need to read that out loud, Paul?
No, just, you said it before, they asked for extension. The next meeting would be June 22nd. So procedurally, somebody would
make a
move
motion.
to move it to June 22nd at 7 p.m.
Point of order though,
Yep.
it says additional 2-week extension from the June 8th.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be to the 22nd, would it?
Yeah,
It would.
That's our next
additional
meeting.
2 weeks? Are they they're not counting our meeting weeks? They're counting weeks?
well, it's 2 weeks, but we're not meeting, our next meeting is the 22nd. And we've already talked to them, so.
Okay, all
They,
right,
they know when the date is, yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll make a motion that we accept the request to continue the meeting for case P16-004-sub until June 22nd.
Second.
At a time.
At 7 p.m.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 6-0. So the public hearing is, technically it's not closed, it's continued.
It's continued, yep, so we just moved to
Continued
the next one.
until
Yep.
the next meeting. So again, abutters will not be renoticed. That goes off the original notice to them. So public hearing for case P16-005-SUB, application from Chuck Minicelli of PTC Realty Limited to review and approve a yield plan for an open space 24-lot subdivision on 87.16 acres on Flutter Street in Nottingham, New Hampshire. Property as identified as tax map 44, lot 12. Similarly, we have a letter from PTC Realty Limited, Mr. Christopher Albert, requesting a 2-week.
No, actually, they
I'm
want
sorry,
to-
no, I'm
that's
sorry.
July
They
13th.
have
Yep.
requested that we continue this to our first July meeting, which is July 13th, 2016. That's correct.
You want a motion?
I would like a motion, yes, please.
I'll make a motion that we continue case P16-005-sub until June 13th, 2016 at 7 p.m.
July 13th.
July 13th.
I thought,
Sorry about that.
Second.
Any discussion?
procedurally, normally on this case, Sue would have to recuse herself as an abutter, but, just because we're continuing, she will abstain from the vote. And then in the next case, Gary will do the same thing, so we can move along.
Excellent, thank you.
Yep.
If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstained?
Aye.
Motion carries,
Abstain.
501. Third case for the public hearing tonight to open is case P16-007-SUB. Application from Gary and Lorraine Anderson for a two-lot subdivision on 5.215 acres on Guile Road in Nottingham, New Hampshire. Property is owned by Gary and Lorraine Anderson and is identified as tax map 27, lot 1. We have a letter from the Andersons requesting continuation to our June 22nd meeting.
I'll make a motion that we, accept the request for continuation of case P16-007, dash sub until June 22nd, 2016 at 7 PM.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All those abstain? Motion carries 501. All right. Getting through so fast tonight. The fourth public hearing for tonight I'd like to open is case P16-006-SUB. It's an application from Roscoe Blaisdell Survey LLC
There's one for you and one for
for a 6-lot subdivision of 98 plus or minus acres on Sachs Road and Mountain Road in Nottingham, New Hampshire. Property is owned by Kenneth Sachs and Joanne Solomon, and is identified as tax map 71, lot 150. So where we left off the last time, is applicants had come before us. We had suggested some changes and some edits or requested some things, and the case will be continued to tonight. And Mr. Blaisdell and Mr. Sachs are here tonight to.
Okay, one of the biggest changes we're making, we had 5 individual driveways coming off of Mountain Road. What we're gonna do now is 2 common driveways to take care of 4 of the lots. And for lot number 1, it's more practical to use Sachs Road. And that lot is entirely coming off of its own land. It's not like one of the other lots using Sachs to get onto it. And it's much more, I mean, it's less impact on, you know, the Mountain Road, plus the Sachs Road was right by the prime building spot, so it's just a lot more practical for this project to work.
Mr. Blaisdell, I'm gonna interrupt you for just one second, I apologize. Do any of the members want a copy of the large plans, since the topography and everything is a little busy on the small plans?
Yes.
You have enough?
This is not for everybody.
Okay, good, thank you.
There's one.
I apologize, thank you. Sorry, Mr. Blaisdell, you can continue.
Okay, so that's one of the major things, and I'm showing the 25% slopes now, which the lots are so big and there's so much good buildable area that it didn't affect the lots. They all have well over the required 30,000 square feet. I mean, most of them have 60 or more, so they're not even close. We have applied, getting back driveways, we've applied for the driveway permit. They take a while. I mean, I had one in Kingston and it took forever because they got issues with other things happening in other places. So I don't feel it's gonna be an issue getting them.
I can add to that. I talked to the DOT today, and he said he did not see any difficulties thus far. I only had a couple of questions that he wanted to talk to Roscoe about yet. But he didn't see any issues. That was the engineering department.
Mr. Colby, I'd like to,
You want me to? Yeah, from the last plan, we had asked him to make some corrections. Majority of the corrections, I mean, as Roscoe just said, you know, we're waiting for the DOT driveway permit numbers, that's, you know, a conditional thing. Couple other things, on, lot 150-1, as he explained, he has showed the 25% slope, but our ordinance says you can't have any of that within the buildable area.
It isn't.
But it still shows on the map that it is.
Well, the
Traces
edge-
it.
I'm not including it in my,
Okay, but, so you should,
so the edge of the travelway is the boundary line of the buildable area. I didn't just show a different line type on the road.
yeah,
So
But
my
I'm-
edge of the buildable area is the edge of Saks Road.
okay, but you still have a 25% grade in two places along Saks Road frontage. That can't be used in the calculation.
No, it isn't.
Okay, well, the thing is, you didn't show the calculations, all you said is they're over.
So you want a number?
We need a
Okay.
number for each lot, and
Okay.
that'll address one of my other comments on lots
Okay.
-2 and -5.
Okay.
It's just,
Like, what I do is I just go up to the road and
right.
around.
And
all that.
I scaled, as he's saying, I scaled the real buildable area, and he's well over 30 on proposed lot -1, that's not an issue. But, you know, in across Saks Road, that little button hook thing that shows the buildable area, cause you gotta take Saks Road out in that part. Yeah,
Like, you see, that's not on lot number 1.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm not including that in,
okay,
so
so,
the road itself is the edge.
okay, but the document, if they were to approve this tonight, the document shows a buildable area out there, so we really only wanna see the true buildable area, along with the square foot figure. So just
Yeah,
redraw the line. Yep.
But along the road, you want me to show a different line type? Because I'm
No, I mean,
stopping at the road.
you've got the green line type, that's easy to figure out. I don't, unless the board sees something, it's not a big deal.
But I, you know, I
Yeah.
physically, I didn't know that you required, I mean, they're over 30, I didn't know you wanted to know how much over.
Right, exactly.
So I can,
So, yeah.
that's a simple thing.
Yep,
But what Paul's saying is that almost rectangular shaped piece that is north of Saks Road
Yep.
would appear to be part of the buildable lot.
But the road is the part that's,
Then you should get rid
that
of
over
it.
there is buildable too, but the
but you-
road
but you
is
need
the
to get rid-
boundary of it.
But you need to get rid of that.
Why do I get rid of it?
or close it off as a.
or close it off, yeah. Because the way you've drawn the lines, it actually crosses Saks Road, so you need to close it.
I think what the board's trying to say is,
See,
it's not,
see, this
You got a
one's
clean
not-
copy? Let me ask, I got right here, Roscoe.
This one's, see, it comes down, it stops at the road. So that's a buildable area, but it's not big enough.
Okay, but you still show this buildable area, it has the 25 in it.
Oh, I see, I should have just erased, yeah, I see what you're saying.
The line should actually go
Yeah, it
like
goes
this.
around.
Yeah, like that. Yep.
Well, it is going around, it's going around here.
But you're right, but that line tells me that's where the 25% slope is. This line, not the S,
Yeah.
this line all the way around is showing me that's the buildable area.
I'm going from here to, along.
I
well,
would probably
have
just
a
square it
50
here.
Okay, goes,
I mean-
so I'm going along here till I hit there, I'm going around here,
Yep.
and then along the
Here,
road.
like this.
So that's how I calculated it.
Right, and that's how I did too, but that's what actually has to be drawn, according to our ordinance.
But what do you want me to draw differently?
You've gotta have a different line. You can't show the continuous buildable area line going all the way through this area.
Okay, yeah, but that, so in this one, if I had erased that, every other bit of it would have worked. That's the only one I just didn't trim that line.
Well,
to.
see, to me, if I follow this line, yeah, even if you stop it there, like you're saying, the road edge. So the line, and I'm picking up the line again, here, that is still in the buildable area. You've gotta draw a new line. So
you want
this
my-
cannot be in the, either the calculation or the drawn buildable area. Am I saying that right?
It isn't, but I think what you want me to do is show a different line type that's
Correct.
dotted.
Yep.
Okay, I see what you said.
Yeah,
Well,
and it's just this one, and then, I mean, it's a little.
well, then I
bit
should
there.
dot every one of them because
Right.
they're edge of it.
Yep, yep,
Another line,
yep.
that part.
So we've taken care of that.
Speaking of that, Paul.
Yep.
In the legend, shouldn't the different line types be identified? I know the soil type line is now showing that, you know, the S with the
Yeah,
dashes.
well, I mean,
I mean, I label like wet, and I'm.
yeah, most of the lines are kind of labeled in there. So, you know, yeah, if you want to see the line that we're talking about showing as buildable area, but most plans, what we have them do is in the buildable area, write buildable area, whatever the X square footage is.
But this gets recorded, doesn't this get recorded with deeds as black and white?
Correct, but the more he writes on this,
Yep.
the harder it is to get through registry. They are so picky down there.
Right, but once this goes black and white, I mean, the same type of line is used for Saks Road, for the property boundary.
Nope,
What do you mean, no? It's green on ours, but it's gonna be black and white, and once it goes to registry, so.
right, they all are.
Right, but, so once this gets to registry, if anybody ever had to look this up, it's gonna be very confusing to know what all these dashed lines are.
The one, they're not even gonna be on the plan. The one that gets recorded is gonna have boundary
Right.
and all my notes and the acreages. Okay. Cause they do not like to see this.
This is way too messy for them. They'll have a fit. But if you look at the green line, it's a solid line along the stone wall on that boundary line, and it's a broken line along the road, which maybe because I read plans all the time, I understood the difference, but it's up to you guys. You make the final decision. So moving on, we've taken care of that, we've taken care of the driveway permit, we've taken care of show the lot coverage. It's a minor thing, but put in the new dates of this plan and the revision block.
Yeah.
Yep. And then the other issue, which can be a major issue, no pun intended, Ken. On proposed lots -4 and 5, you showed the shared driveway, but our ordinance says each lot must have its own curb cut. So traditionally, the driveways, the shared driveways are on the lot line.
When I did White's, at least one of them was not on, I mean, maybe you overlooked it.
No, that one I know exactly, that was that way, but that's, the ordinance now says we've got to do it that way.
Where does it say that in the ordinances, Paul?
That each lot has to have its own
Where?
curb cut,
Where
in
in
the
that?
zoning ordinance.
Well, I just looked through the zoning ordinance, I couldn't find it, so that's what I'm asking.
Each lot, it's on, Article 2C1 lowercase a. Each lot shall have a minimum contiguous frontage of 200 feet, including a curb cut for approved access, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if your page numbers, it's at the top of page 2 in mine.
But an easement for a curb cut on another lot.
It's in the zoning ordinance.
Yeah.
So you'd have to go to ZBA.
Well,
We've had,
I can move it. This was a better spot, and I
Right.
didn't realize, so.
and we just had another case recently with the same thing, and all they did was move it. There's no use going to ZBA. Because I'll tell you, the twice since I've worked here, that this has gone to the ZBA and they've denied it both times. So that's what I'm saying, move the driveway.
Good to know the history of that.
Yeah. Okay, so we've taken care of that. I think that's, I'm just going over my
What
notes
about,
here.
what about B, Paul, on that same article? Each single parcel of land is required to contain a driveway curb cut within the required minimum frontage. The required driveway may be either a single or a common shared driveway.
Right, common shared driveway. So if I've gotta have a driveway
So it's gotta go up the
up,
property.
up the property line, yep.
It says that it has to be kept to the common boundary, so
Right,
it would
yeah.
have to be that.
So, yeah, and the easiest thing is for the applicant to just redraw shove the driveway over, it's like 20 feet maybe at the most, and move it, and that'll clear up the whole thing.
Yep.
I forgot to bring a copy of my notes. Is that everything I put in the handout to you guys?
Number 4, wanna pass that over, Gary?
You mentioned four.
Oh, we did?
Yeah, number 1, we know that's a pending item. We got 2, 3, yeah, update the revision block, that's easy.
And Paul, you pointed out that lot 1's got the slopes in the building envelope, but so does
Yeah, I showed Roscoe when he was standing beside me, lot -4.
4 does
That's a
as
small
well.
area, yeah, right there. But when I calculate, same thing, that lot, that little area, we're still that one's over 50,000, but it's still, you see what I'm talking, Roscoe?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
what I
what I do, I
Yeah.
just trim off that one.
That's all, just,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. On this page, if we look at the, get my right copy out. Yeah, if we look at the, actually, I've got it here, Karen. On the second page, if you will, that shows the complete parcel of Mr. Sachs. There was 3 things we needed him to do. One was change the title to show that it was currently in the trust and not still owned by Mr. Warner Sachs. Update the abutters list, which he's done. And then on the bottom left-hand part of the plan, the lots were numbered 150-123, et cetera. They actually have lot numbers that are in the 40s. And there's houses already on them lots, so we asked him to redraw on the 72-acre sheet, if you will, the 5 proposed lots, which he's done.
And I don't want this to be, this
No.
is just for you guys to
This
look at.
was for, right, and on the, oops, sorry, Gary. We also asked him back on the first sheet to show he has shown a setback line to the road and to the property and well radius in a 4K area on the remaining parcel. It's just above the signature block for the planning board.
Okay, so we asked for that?
Yeah,
Okay.
at our last meeting. Because what we do is we always ask the applicant to show us on the remaining land, could it still be a house lot? Because we couldn't approve it if it was an unbuildable lot.
You never know.
Right, so, I mean, on the 50 acres out there still, I think we can get a house. So, I mean, so Roscoe has shown that, I forgot to point that out. And the other things that we'd asked last time, adding the new notes, they're all there. He has changed a note about the driveway issues, the relocation, he did that submittal, so, really, there's a couple minor, drafting details.
And half an hour work for me.
Right.
I mean, I'd like to ask for conditional approval tonight if I can. The driveway, I'm just gonna move it, and, I'll just actually give the physical acreages of all the buildable areas, and just change the line type, so you know that I'm stopping at that slope and going.
Yes, sir.
I'm still feeling a little dumb on this. Why can't he have common driveways that run up where he's got the driveway cuts is on the boundary?
No, this
No,
one
One of them isn't.
One of them isn't.
is not, see, it's right here.
Lots 5-5-4.
So that's the one you're talking about moving.
Right,
That's the
yeah,
only
the other
one.
one's is actually perfect. Yep.
This
Fine,
one-
I understand.
Nope, that's
This
fine,
one
yeah.
is right here,
Yep, I understand
and
now.
this one's over.
Yep.
So this time I'd like to make, open the discussion to the whole board. We already kind of got into it, but just, if there's any other items anybody would like to discuss.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question for, Paul.
Actually, hold on, I apologize, before we
sorry.
get to that point. I'd like to, open it to anybody, to the public, if there's anybody here that'd like to speak for or against, application or has a question regarding it. First would be anybody in support of, please come to the desk, or the front here, and identify yourself. Second would be anybody opposed, and then lastly would be kind of anybody that just isn't necessarily opposed or against, for it, just would like to, speak towards it. Seeing none at the moment.
Well, you're part of the application almost, so. Shane's really the only public person here.
I believe she's in favor of it.
So at this time, seeing no, having no discussion at this point, I would like to open it to the board. I apologize for smoothing.
That's okay, I barged right in. Mr. Colby, on lots 4 and 5, there is an area of very poorly drained wetlands that go all the way through the back area, into the larger remaining lot. Did you take the graphic scale and measure the setback?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're all good, yep.
I don't have a ruler with me, but.
Yep. I will do it right now, just to confirm.
Yeah, I'm looking at lot 4, it has a little corner there.
Lot 4 is to the, where it says 221,541. From that, because that's pretty much right above that is the buildable area line.
Yeah.
To the closest part is 800 feet. It's,
Oh, all right.
yeah. And the other one is, again, it's like 105 feet.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yep.
So I have a question, this is probably more for you, Paul,
Yep.
just for my understanding. So, on all the lots, except for, looks like one, except for lot 1, it's showing kind of back building lots, or additional building lots. Am I reading that correctly?
Yes, what he's shown is on, specifically on -3, -4,
Yeah,
there's a small buildable area.
right,
That is, and most people show that, and why I like to see it, and I recommend you do, is if this person, and I'll use lot -3 as an example.
okay,
Let's say they wanna put a shed or a barn out there, we know that's good land already.
yeah,
So when they come back into me later, you know, how many years from now, or, you know, and the other idea is, let's say none of us are around 10 years from now, who knows? Someone can pull this plan and go, oh yeah, they can put the shed, the barn, garage, whatever. Yep. So, I mean, it's,
So having said that, then on, just as an example, on lot 5, to access that, they'd have to go over the 25% slope area.
right. So, it's probably impractical to use, unless they, in the future, did a lot line adjustment with the the parent lot, the remainder 150 to move the line.
So then, let me ask you this, so then say someone bought lot 5, a builder bought lot 5, and
Yep.
they said, oh, well, I see 2 buildable lots, I wanna put the one on the other side of that 25% slope.
Because we've approved, we've approved this as single family lots, or single house lots.
Right, but say they wanted to put it there
Oh, put it there?
instead of out front.
They would be automatically denied, well, they could go to ZBA, because our ordinance says you can't, the driveway
Right,
can't be greater than, was it 8% for residential? Or 12% or something, so I mean, that would kill it right there. Now, that's not saying they can't go and seek relief from ZBA, but that's when, you know, we address it. I mean, and ideally, yeah, that piece is practically unbuildable in common sense terms, but it still meets the requirement of a buildable area.
okay.
And they're not part of the 30,000 square foot count.
That's correct, this is above and beyond the 30, because the 30 has to be contiguous,
Right.
yeah.
So going to that, that's one, I know you spoke about it, but for lot 150-5 and 150-2 specifically, is that section, you know, and this is what we had asked for you to calculate, well, Paul, I think had asked for you to calculate, is to show that that's 30,000 contiguous square feet in both those areas, and the triangles that are,
Yeah,
are shown.
and they all
Well,
are.
he's gonna show them all of them, just to
Yeah.
be consistent, so, yeah.
So he's gonna add that to these plans?
Of the little areas, the non-house area,
I'm just asking for clarification to
Yeah.
what.
What I have asked him to do, if you approve it, is for the buildable area for each lot, where the house will go,
The main.
the main buildable area, if you will, that shows where the 4K and the well is. I want that labeled with what the actual square footage is, so we can look. The auxiliary areas, if you will, I don't know what else to call them. I mean, if you wanna throw the square
Not
footage on it,
important,
to me, it's not important to know the square footage.
Make the plan too busy.
Right. Yeah.
Like that one right there?
Because ideally, he's shown a 50-foot setback, and ideally, if they put a garage there on, just in general, it's 20 feet. So, it's just actually probably a little more.
So am I also understanding correctly that Saks Road is actually going right through Lot 1?
It's going through Lot 1, it's, if you want to, subdividing Lot 1 as a physical road. It's along the back boundaries of Lot
Of
2, 3, and 4. Lot 5 has no, and that's why we had him, put the note in that, I'm just looking for what number it is, help me, Roscoe. That they're,
11 houses won't be using the road.
This is built on the new lots.
oh,
and
lot number 12, it lists the lots and the existing right-of-way on them. They shall be noted in the deeds of the lots that are sold.
So the road is going through each of these parcels.
Correct.
So I'm the landowner now, I bought a house, I'm on this piece of property,
Yep,
and I decide to do something on Saks Road.
it's your road.
He can cut trees, he can
It's your road.
cow there, he can't put a house on.
The only thing you can't do is block access, because that's one of the requirements we're making them, is the 4 houses that Saks goes through, when the deeds are written up for them 4 properties, that they'll be listed a right-of-way for, in perpetuity to the land down there.
So this road is an emergency lane?
Currently it is, yeah, like we talked this afternoon up to that
Yeah.
top of the hill.
So that adds another kind of consideration that we have to consider. Because if it's an emergency lane, then the town is maintaining this road to a certain extent.
Right, to a certain extent. We plow it up to a certain point, and we do some summer maintenance on it.
And how do you, when you say consideration, what are you thinking about?
I don't know if the town is maintaining it to a certain extent. I mean, should we have someone, should we have legal look into this? What does that mean to the town? That's my question. What does it mean to,
It is what it is.
Right, I mean, yeah, I see, I guess.
but it's on, so the owner of Saks Road is Mr. Saks.
Currently is Mr. Saks. The new owner of pieces of Saks Road will be these 4 individual lot owners. And Mr. Saks will own the remainder of Saks Road, as long as he still owns the remaining piece. So, part of, you buy lot -1.
Yeah,
In the deed that will transfer from ownership from Saks to you, will be the stipulation is that this is a public right-of-way, servicing lots in whatever
Private.
direction. Huh?
private club, public.
Private, it is private, because it's right. And remember, even though it's an emergency lane, legally, technically, I'll say technically, all we're required to do is snowplow it. I'll leave it at that for now. But at any time, for any emergency lane, all the Board of Selectmen have to do is hold a public hearing and go, Saks Road, and I'll just use this one as an example, is no longer an emergency lane. We still have a public hearing, the abutters and anybody interested parties can say, no, we don't want it, it's not a town vote, it's the three select persons at that time, whoever's sitting on the board, can just remove any emergency lane.
Right, and that's why I'm thinking from the town's point of view, it really doesn't change much, just the owners change.
Because in the, right
Well,
currently,
yes and no, because lot one, they're going right through their property.
They know what they're buying.
right, yeah.
But it's gonna be always somebody's property. That, yeah.
And all these other people have rights to use that road. No matter what we do, they can't lose any rights. They
Right.
have those rights.
Because in there,
We can say, we don't want you there, well,
and one of the abutters expressed the concern at our last hearing that they, in their deeds, it said they actually had the right to say who can go up and down the road. Well, and I beg to differ with her, because technically Mr. Sachs owns the road. Well, I pulled that person's deeds, and in it, it's very clear that they have a non-exclusive right-of-way in common with others, so that takes in the lots. And when we looked at other houses on Sachs Road, they all have the same language. For all customary purposes, including but not limited to ingress and egress by motor vehicles and/or pedestrians, utilities, etc. Over a certain roadway as shown as a double broken line, etc., etc. Name it Sachs Road and the page number. And this was signed in 1999 by Warner Sachs and Gertrude Sachs, Ken's parents. And then it references on, the deeds of, there was supposed to be an association form called Leisure Time Shore Associations, that it actually says that they're responsible for maintaining the whole road, and anybody that's, has a right-of-way through Sachs Road, and technically these new lots would, they have to join the association, and it covers everything but snow plowing. And that was drawn up in 1976.
So this road has an association.
Yeah, is that still formed,
That's correct.
Ken? Okay, yeah.
Right.
Referenced as leisure time associations. The purpose of this association, the express purpose, is to maintain said road at all times so that it may be easily traveled from the said lake to the highway as so marked on the plan attached. We didn't print the whole plan out from the registry. The cost to maintain said road shall be divided equally by each of the undersigned lot owners on a pro rata basis according to the number of lots owned. Contributions for the maintenance of said road shall be made as follows, and I'll just skip that part, and it says, it is expressly agreed that the association funds shall not be used for the plowing of snow, but rather said snow plowing should be done at the personal expense of the lot owners that so require it, and said plowing of snow is not intended to be governed by this agreement. So, I don't know how they pay it, but I know a private contractor plows part of the road from the top of the hill down in.
The town has been generous enough to go ahead and plow part of the road,
Right.
okay? We have hired regularly, every winter, one individual to go ahead and plow the remainder of the road. And then we share in the expense of that. Usually one chairperson collects the bills, and at the end of the season, we collect and we share that cost. It's a nominal amount of money, but nonetheless, it has been that way since 1999.
Yep.
And prior to that, they were collecting, I think it was something like $10 for a lot owner for maintenance of the road, which means getting sand or fill for the road, doing any kind of work on the road.
So it leads to the question is, will these lots have in their deeds as well, just like is in that deed?
They have to, that's what note 12 says.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what note 12. Did we clear that up for you, Charlie?
Well, note 12 says that they'll have an existing right-of-way, but it doesn't say anything about any of what you just read.
Yeah, well, like I said, that was, of course, these lots weren't there at the time, so does that get extended to the new lots, the four lots that affect it? It probably should.
Yeah, 4 lots won't even be using the road, only one of them.
But the road goes through their property.
So even if it isn't their access,
They need
they
to
share
allow access,
responsibility.
yeah.
How do you feel about it?
Well, that's interesting. I mean, if I wanted to access the back of my property and there's an easement going through that back of the property, does that mean I have the right to go down to someone else's property to get to that part that I can access that's my property? That kinda sounds kinda funky, like, why would you do that?
But
Why
they're,
don't you just walk to the back of your property?
but they're responsible for the section that goes through their property, you know, snow plowing and maintenance. So to deny them,
Well, as it described
Access.
in that, it was maintain the road, yes.
I see what you're saying, yeah. Because if they're only accessing their lots from Mountain Road, they may, why would they wanna be responsible for maintaining that road that?
Well,
they're not-
because they could go back here if they built it, I mean, we're saying that there's a buildable lot back here, they could put a bond if they wanted to and have, you know,
I'm saying they can't.
And so they-
No, it says they can't.
they could,
But if you look at note 11, lots, all the lots except 150, which is the big piece that Ken still will own, and -1, because the road goes through it, the other 4 lots, or 3 lots, will have no access. Yes, they own part of the road, it goes through their land, but they would have no, if they came in for a driveway permit,
well, they couldn't get a driveway permit, but heck, they could just pull off to the side of the road, park their car and.
Well, it's saying that, it's saying the house,
They
it's saying they
could.
won't access the house, but it's not saying they wouldn't access, if they built a barn back there, that they wouldn't access the barn, or that they wouldn't use Saks Road to get to the back part of the property. I mean, if you are,
it's
if
their
you're at
property, why
lot.
can't they? They own that part of the road.
Right,
But that's what I'm saying, it depends on what the deed is gonna
all-
show.
so that's why it's
Right
important,
away.
I think for us, I mean, to have an understanding of what the deed is gonna say, so that, you know, the house gets built in 5 years from now, we have lot, you know, lot number 3 owner coming in saying, complaining about the, whatever's going on Saks Road. That's, I'm just, you know, that's, I think it's important that we take that into consideration and somehow make sure that it's clear and we're all understanding.
No, it should be pretty clear. They can't build off of that road. If they wanna, the firewood, honestly. Plus, the building envelopes are just puny back here. There's no, can't do the rest
There
of
aren't
the
any
roads.
building envelopes. in
No,
that.
they really are, you know,
There
either
wouldn't be any
steep or.
reason to build one there. Why, I mean,
And why are they shown as buildable?
Because I came 50 feet off the property line and 100 feet off the wet, so it's buildable, I'm not gonna say it's not buildable, it is, but I also have a note here saying they can't come off of the Saks Road, if they wanna build a 400-foot driveway to get to that one little buildable area in back, they can, but they're not gonna use the Saks Road to do it.
So because they're gonna have restrictions basically on use of that road, even though it's on the property, maybe that would also restrict them from being a part of the association.
I think what, changing the verbiage on lot, in note 11, to saying lots built on, or, you know, the new lots will be accessed directly from Mountain Road, because saying houses, I mean, it brings up the thing where people could build, because there's buildable area, so if they did decide, I don't know whether they would, but.
Well, I could say.
I mean, they're not gonna go from the front of the property back, if you look at 150-2, they're not gonna try to cross all those wetlands and steep slope, to get to that back portion, but they may decide to build something back there and then come
Well, I'd
on.
say all structures.
Right.
I mean, I said houses, so I don't say all structures have to be accessed off Mountain Road. Does that make it?
Maybe that's just clear.
I'm
Just saying lots will be accessed, which clears it up totally. because then you're not leaving it just for anybody else's interpretation. You're just saying, these lots, 1, 2, 3, 4, will be accessed off Mountain Road exclusively.
What areas say that?
You said houses, you didn't say
Okay.
barn, sheds.
Right. Yeah.
Other
so
structures.
Rather than just saying structures, leave it as lots.
And then discussing the rest of the deed, I don't know if that might be beyond the purview of the planning
Yeah, we
board.
can't, well, we
Well,
can't,
see,
we
and-
can't say what's in it, that's why it needs to come from them. We
And
can't-
actually, yeah, in our ordinances, that's what I was just looking, the only thing we're allowed, like deeds and that, is condominium developments. So yeah,
So as long as they're, and Saks Road, I mean, it's listed, they discuss a right of way in the notes, but they don't actually list Saks Road as a right of way. So we should make that clear that that's the specific right of way that's being discussed. Correct? Usually right of ways are specifically, very clearly listed as a right of way on the plans.
I'm saying off Mountain Road, what if they want to come off that other road and cross, I mean,
Oh, no, I'm not talking about the access part anymore, I apologize.
yeah, I see
jumped.
what you're saying, and I'm just
But I'm
looking
trying
at
to
what the
say is
best place
there's
to
a
put
note
it.
about the right of way, and normally on the plans, we usually just actually specifically show whatever the right of way is that we're discussing.
I
So
would
that,
say in note 12, Roscoe,
Yeah.
have an existing right-of-way on Saks Road instead of them. Does that clear that up?
On Saks Road.
on Saks Road.
Yeah.
or existing right of way labeled as Saks Road.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because, I mean, ideally, right now, Ken owns the road. And the only difference is that these first 4 lots will own part of the road instead of Ken. So they still need to have in their deed written that they have to recognize there's a right-of-way to the southern lots or whatever, the lake lots.
Right, we just have to make sure that it's clear what that right of way is. Like tonight, we know that Saks Road is what we're discussing as the right of way.
I'll just put Saks Road.
Putting it somewhere that's the right of way,
Okay.
that's what, I think clears that up.
Because, and if you look at the big picture and kind of what you were going for currently, these lots sell, and let's say, yeah, you buy lot 1, and you close down the access for whatever reason, that's not a town issue, it's a private road, that's a civil matter between you and everybody else that has the deed right away.
Right, but
Right.
we're kind of introducing the civil matter that will probably happen at some point in time.
You can't take someone's rights that they already have.
Right. And there's, the only difference is, there's gonna be possibility of 6 owners of Saks Road where there's 1 now. That's the only change. Because if Ken wasn't subdividing this, Saks Road goes through his property and it bisects his property, very similar to lot 1 in many, well, lot 1, there you go, it bisects his property.
Technically speaking, at the lower end of this, on the lake side, 3 or 4 of the lots, actually, we passed right through their property. I mean,
Yeah,
They're just
right
like
through the
lot
center of
one.
it. Because what had happened is that the property was originally developed in the 1950s, I'm going to suggest.
When you-
And then, when my father decided to divide it up and make it into a buildable, single lot, it was a 2-acre requirement. So they had the road go through the middle of the lot and make a 2-acre lot. So there are a number of them, they're already split up and, or the right-of-way goes directly through that lot.
Is that the person that was talking about the boating issue, the boat launch?
That, she's one of them. If you have the copy of the old plan,
She does.
you can see what Ken's talking about. Here, you know, Saks Road comes down, these are the new lots up here, but Saks Road now bisects this lot, this lot, this lot, not that lot.
Actually, I show it too.
Right, yeah. And it's funny, it really didn't bisect this lot, because on the actual tax map, lot 135 actually comes this way.
it shows in here.
So, yeah, because the lady that, on this lot says, why wasn't I notified as a butter? Because there's a piece of strip of land owned by another party between them and Ken's land. So, we already have that issue. So, yeah.
So Paul, going back to, or, Mr. Blaisdell, lot 150-1, our zoning ordinance specifically states that each lot must contain, include a curb cut within the contiguous frontage of 200 feet. So that does not, that's off of Saks Road, so that's off a class 6
No, that's
road.
its own land. Saks Road is
It's a
owned by that lot.
It's a class 6 road, so the,
Saks Road is his driveway.
Mountain Road is the road.
Saks
that-
Road is his driveway.
Yes.
okay, okay.
So Saks Road does have frontage.
So the driveway is well, the actual driveway is the portion of Saks Road that is,
Yeah, and he's just wiring off Saks Road to get to the house, if you will. So technically, Saks Road is his driveway. And a right-of-way to everybody else, and a private road.
And he doesn't have to get a state permit for that driveway.
No, they don't,
okay.
so, yeah.
And then the same thing for the parent parcel, then, the 72 remaining acres.
He's already got access from Saks Road onto that piece, there's 2 or 3 of them. Right.
So that doesn't get changed by doing a subdivision, creating,
I mean,
because in reality, it's creating a new lot, I mean, it's creating. Because you're keeping one access for 150-1, so theoretically, that's your first driveway.
But-
And now to get access to this other lot that's being created, the 72 acres, would have to have a second driveway. Otherwise, this becomes a shared, I mean, you get into a weird.
We've never done that before, and any mother pieces left over, had them put a driveway cut in.
To show that it's a true buildable.
Yeah, I mean, because, and it says in the notes that they're gonna have access off that, so if they ever go to develop that, yes, he could go to DOT and get a driveway permit. To show it, if they would allow it,
On Mountain Road.
on Mountain Road, right. There's plenty of frontage here.
The previous developers were planning. to
Where,
build it.
actually, yeah, when the subdivision road was gonna come
That's a good spot.
further down, yeah. I mean, if you want, you know, we could have Roscoe draw 2 lines on the road as
I'm at,
potential driveway
He
location.
already has the right to come off.
I guess I'm putting it there to the board, because our zoning
That's up to you guys.
just says each lot shall have a minimum contiguous front of 200 feet, which has to be on the class 5 or better road.
Yeah, I'll do.
It says over 600 foot.
I'm on the zoning ordinance under C, residential. Right. District. Oh, it has, yeah, I'm sorry, I thought you said it says, including a curb cut for approved access. So the way our zoning is saying it, that curb cut has to be shown from the approved road frontage, not from some other private road.
So what you're saying is on lot 150, they just need to draw in a potential driveway. Proposed driveway location, doesn't mean it has to go in, it just shows it's there.
Right, but by us approving it, then if they decide to subdivide this, they're showing all, that technically it's almost like a back lot, even though it's got frontage over here.
It does show a proposed driveway on that lot.
It's showing it off of Saks Road.
Off
though.
of Saks Road, which is
Right.
a
Right.
private road,
Not
it's
showing
not
it
a
off,
class
not
5.
showing it off of a class 5 or better
Oh,
road.
so you want it off of Mountain Road?
I'm saying
That's-
we should think about it, the way our zoning is, this is a strange situation where they're using Saks Road, the beginning of Saks Road, they're using as kind of a driveway extension for the first lot that's being created, 150-1. But then they would also be using it for the other lot, which is 150. So this is a you know, a situation we don't really see, because we don't see that many private roads.
So,
Trying to
all,
access
all he's gotta
private
do
road.
is on lot 150, the remaining land, is show a curb cut, proposed driveway. That's all he's gotta write.
Yep.
And that clears up the whole thing.
And get rid of the one up on Saks Road.
No, because the notes say he can access it. Any of these guys could access their
Yeah,
land.
but that's against our zoning to have that second proposed driveway off of Saks Road.
It says you can't have 2?
He owns Saks Road, why can't he use it?
Because
It's not a town road.
Yeah, but he's showing it on here.
But he's using Saks Road as the curb cut for lot one.
right? And if he draws one off Mountain Road, okay,
And what I'm saying is that if you continue up Saks Road.
Right.
And you put another curb cut on it, now you've got two driveways coming off of,
you can have two driveways off a lot.
you can't have two driveways off the same curb cut.
He's not.
Yes, he is.
I guess I'm confused what you're
He's
saying.
thinking that the remaining lot would have the same curb cut as lot one. And what you had identified is that the remaining parcel has 690 some odd feet on Mountain Road.
Correct.
So that's where the curb cut can go.
That's where the curb cut should go, and not and there's, for lot 150, there shouldn't be a curb cut off the Saks. Not saying that you don't own that road and you can't do whatever you want with it, but that's not what the curb cut should be.
But I don't.
Is that what
I
you're
don't think
saying,
he-
Ed?
yeah,
That was
didn't identify
what I
it
was
that way.
bringing up to question, yes, that,
But if he, that's what I'm saying is, to me, he does not need to eliminate the curb cut on Saks Road. He can show it, because number one, we don't regulate curb cuts on private roads. They cannot get a driveway, I can't legally issue a driveway permit on a private road. And I'll give you the example, Bardary Lane, the Whites were doing a subdivision of a one lot. This planning board recommended that they get a driveway off of Bardary Lane. The owners of Bardary Lane refused them, so they had to turn it into almost a backlot subdivision.
so,
But I think they came in with the proposal that it be off Bardary Lane.
so where I'm getting hung up and what I was trying to get the board to talk about was between the zoning ordinance, so that language there, talking about the curb cut being within the 200-foot frontage, which is on a class 5 or better road, and then our subdivision regs 15.1.2, where it talks about access, that no subdivision shall be approved unless the property to be subdivided shall have frontage on, which we've got, and access from an existing class 5 or better road. So, this remaining parcel, its access, if they only put the driveway up there, is showing that the access is actually coming off of a private road, not,
Right, so to make it right, he's just gotta show a driveway access off Mountain Road on the remaining parcel.
I don't have to go through the whole.
You don't have to apply for it, you just have to show it.
And show it on Mountain Road and take it off of Saks.
but then,
Makes people happy.
but then the second line of this access says, each lot shall have a safe, independent, and direct access from a class 5 or better road.
Yeah.
So 150-1 does not have independent access.
They own it. So they have the legal right to say what's on the road, they just can't prevent people from traveling on it. They own the road, not us.
They're coming off a state highway
Yep,
onto their own land.
right.
Right, that's the access to their land.
Which is what we all have that live on 152. If we live off 152, we come off of it and we're on our own road.
But if you had a private road going through your property that you owned as a right of way, and you technically own, so it's a right of way, so
It's not your right of way.
it's not your right of way. That goes to all these different lots. And that's where you wanna put your driveway in off of. You're not accessing your property from 152, you're accessing from a private road
No,
that goes through your property.
this lot is being accessed from 150, from Mountain Road. That's the access. That's my interpretation, is Saks Road is the access to this lot. Okay, has he shown proposed driveway?
So
Yeah.
the independent, I mean, that throws out the independent access. Independent would generally mean sole.
That's your interpretation, and that's up to
We
you
can look up
guys.
the word independent.
That's up to you guys to decide.
When it's not defined, the dictionary gives the rule, so independent generally means single, or, it's there, it's not going to 12 other places.
Well, you're saying you can't.
Okay, then technically you can't have shared driveways if you're under your interpretation, because that's not independent.
When warranted, the board may require a driveway shared by 2 lots. I mean, we talked about shared driveways and we allow for it. Otherwise,
So what's the difference if that's a shared driveway?
because it's a shared driveway to multiple other houses that are further down.
So
But remember,
Ed-
they're pre-existing, you can't enforce that on the
so Ed,
pre-existing
can-
lots.
Can
But
you
this
read
isn't
that
a
again?
pre-existing lot, though. 150-1
is a new lot that has
Is a
his
new lot.
access off Mountain Road.
So,
However, for practicality purposes, it's actually better not to have an additional curb cut, even though I understand what you're saying.
Talking with DOT,
We-
they highly recommended this because Saks Road is already there on the lot. And because of the traffic for the state park, when I talked with them at Division 6, and then it doesn't show on here, but where Saks Road comes out and Jamsa Trail comes out, the road actually curves and then kind of to the right and comes downhill if you're headed away from the lake. So for them to, I mean, they've got the steep slope and everything, for them to actually get a driveway, they may get denied. DOT looked at that and said, we prefer that they access that lot off that road. Does it meet our definition? That's for you to decide.
right, so I think, because we're not just, you know, everything we do, we're not just looking at this plan, we're trying to interpret our subdivision regs and apply it, which we have to apply to someone else that came in and had the same situation, so since they've talked to DOT, and that's been the thing, so maybe would this be a waiver situation, where we take that into consideration? And,
Well, you can't do a waiver against zoning.
Right.
No, they'd have to go to the zoning board.
right, good.
I mean, I don't see how this is different than those other common driveways. It's just, it's already a common driveway and we're putting one more house on it and the other commons are
Yeah,
just,
But you're creating new lots, and a common driveway has to be on the boundary between the lots. That's what the zoning says.
I think they gotta go to the zoning board with this.
I'm sorry.
I think they have to go to the zoning board with that.
You guys have to make that decision. Yep. So, my recommendation is the board takes a vote on what you need the applicant to do.
town attorney opinion. I mean, it seems pretty clear to me. I don't think we're gonna wanna go through the zoning board process. I mean, we're not gonna give up the lot, but to build another driveway here, it's just, you know, cutting brush and
It's by going through with our, but we have to apply, regardless of what's out here, in a way, I mean, we have to take it into consideration, but we have to apply our current, because this is a new subdivision, so it's creating new lots, our current zoning regs and our current subdivision, regulations, zoning ordinances and, subdivision regulations. So, I mean, it's just,
I just don't understand how coming off a state highway onto their own land on a driveway that's already there, I don't understand how that's not meeting the rules.
You're talking about the lot that he's gonna be
It's,
on.
it's a private road, it's not a driveway.
we're talking about lot 150-1,
Yeah, yeah.
So this one,
the very far to the right, yep.
okay.
We always treat private driveways and new roads the same, you have to come off another road.
Am I understanding it correctly? I'm kind of getting bogged down, trying to
Yeah.
get a clarity of what we're really approaching here. The remaining lot, 50 acres, wherever it is, okay, which has 600 and some odd feet of frontage on Mountain Road. If he were to show that we can attain a curb cut there, remove the notation on the plan that says he can access it from Saks Road, does that now meet all the requirements? Yes or no? I mean, we're not asking for anything any differently than that, I would think.
Well, for 150, in my interpretation, is that would satisfy that one, but for lot 150-1, the one furthest to the right, where the proposed driveway is coming off of Saks Road, that one doesn't necessarily meet our zoning regs. Our zoning regs specifically state that each lot shall have the minimum frontage, including a curb cut for approved access.
But that,
So what,
So-
so we
so
don't have that?
they-
Yes, we do.
that
You
is the curb.
don't have a curb cut on Mountain Road, you have it off Saks Road.
No, we have a curb cut off Mountain Road. Someone just happened to put a road there before we got there. That was nice of them. But we're gonna kinda keep coming off of the state highway.
So that's where it brings us to,
That's
our-
100%
What
clear
section
to me.
did you read the singularity?
I'm sorry?
What section, you said it first,
Independent?
independent, what section?
Oh, page 58 of the subdivision regs, 15.1.2 access. No subdivision shall be approved unless a property to be subdivided shall have frontage on and access from an existing class 5 or better road. Each lot shall have a safe, independent, and direct access from a class 5 or better road.
That we can do a waiver for.
Then you can just do a waiver, if it's in the subdivision regulations. Say that section again, because I'm
Oh,
just
yeah,
not finding it.
sorry,
I'm
15.1.2, it's page 58, or that's what it is.
Okay, well, it's a different page for me.
Yeah, it's a
But that's
different
fine,
page
because
for
I've got mine's spaced out.
So it's fine, if we can do it as a waiver.
You can
great,
do it as a
but
waiver.
That way it just covers this one and does not go forward to others with, without going through the same process.
Ask for a waiver. That would be my
Yeah,
recommendation.
I would like to ask a waiver to, the independent part of that particular rule we have.
So,
15 dash,
So I think you have a couple of waivers that you were gonna do, so you may wanna do them all at the same time. You
Do I have more waivers?
you wanted a waiver for not showing the whole,
he does show the
I
whole
do
thing.
show
That's
it.
what the second page is.
Yeah.
He needs a waiver to show, not show the topo for the whole.
correct, sorry, that's,
Okay, I'd like a waiver to not show topo on the entire property.
So the first waiver is section 15.1.2. That's the driveway, issue. And I want to get you the right number on the other one.
so, oh, I'm sorry, back to the zoning ordinance, so, under the next part, B, each single parcel of land is required to contain a driveway curb cut within the required minimum frontage. The required driveway may be either a single or common shared driveway serving no more than 2 residences. And shared driveways will be kept to the common boundary, and they'll be put in each owner's deed of record. So it is a zoning issue.
No, it's not. Not if you take and remove that.
We're talking about the 150-1, I'm talking about 150-1.
He's talking about this one.
But he does have a curb cut. Also known as Saks Road.
But it serves more than 2 people.
But if you count that as a curb cut, then it's,
Is there a required road width for a private road,
No,
a whole private driveway?
yes.
Driveway width, private driveway.
minimum width of 12 feet for residential, 20 feet for
Yep.
non-residential.
What would the private road qualify under?
Actually, driveway design minimum width is 12 feet,
12 feet.
20 for resident, for non-residential. For the maximum of 8 feet.
That curb cut's more than 12 feet.
Oh,
Seeing it grow year after year.
But the issue is, we're considering it, if we consider the curb cut to be the driveway, the curb cut that's on Mountain Road, we consider that to be the driveway, it's then servicing more than 2 residences, which is against zoning.
It's a pre-existing non-conforming condition,
It's not,
if you look at it this way.
It's
For the
not.
rest of the lots, it is.
for the rest of the lots, because they were approved prior to this, this is a new subdivision, so we have to approve it with our current regulations. So we can't create a non-conforming situation. So by doing so, by approving that, potentially we'd be creating a non-conforming.
Break it
addition-
down in 2 sections. Has to have a curb cut onto a class 5 or better road.
Yep,
Okay, it shows a curb cut. Forget the whole issue, whether it's a private road or not. It does have a curb cut.
correct.
The second part of that says servicing not more than 2. Okay? But the other lots are pre-existing non-conforming. Go to that section of the zoning ordinance and see if that takes care of the issue.
So it's not more than 2 new lots.
And that's something you have to determine. That's up to you.
So this just says serving no more than 2 residences, but you're saying to go to the,
Okay, define residence. There's seasonal camps down there. There's undeveloped land. There are some year-round homes.
are there more than 2 houses down there? 2
Yeah.
Year-round homes, yeah.
Then then I don't need to define the rest, that counts as the residences. I mean, I'm not making this, it's something.
You
that the
can't
board could-
enforce a zoning ordinance on
I'm
pre-existing
not-
non-conforming.
We're not,
Yes, you are, because you can't count that, them lots are already developed.
so we're not stopping them from using it. What, these lots would be new lots, so we have to apply the zoning regulations to these lots. So that's what I'm
But these
trying.
aren't coming off of.
And
Saks
again,
Road.
what I say is if you take that proposed driveway off of lot 150,
Yep,
put the proposed lot out on,
Mountain Road.
Mountain Road, then there's only one new lot that's using the, Saks Road, curb cut.
But even if you were, it said that we could do 2.
No,
said
it
that-
doesn't say you could, it says you can't do two.
you can't serve you can serve no more than 2 residences,
Correct, it would, then that's what it would be, the first one and then 150.
but
Yeah,
the curb cut,
you're right.
I am right.
but you have to look at the entire curb cut. Because we'd be treating the curb cut as the driveway. So the curb cut onto Mountain Road would then be considered the driveway. I mean, it says, each single parcel of land is required to contain a driveway, curb cut in parentheses, within the required minimum frontage. The required driveway may be either a single or common shared driveway serving no more than 2 residences. So if we consider that curb cut to be the driveway,
Whoa.
Saks Road.
Back up. Curb cut and a driveway are 2 different animals,
we put them, it puts it in parentheses, showing that,
but it's 2 different animals. We control the first 13 feet of the curb cut. That they would have, under our new regulations, they would have to hot top. The rest is a driveway. DOT, if they were, let's say this was just gonna be a driveway, Saks Road wasn't there, DOT's not going to regulate his driveway outside of the right-of-way. The bottom line is, the 6 of you have to decide tonight which way you're gonna go.
Could we just stop calling Saks Road a driveway? Because it's not. It's a road. It's a private road.
But we recognize driveways as private roads in town.
Saks Road is a private road. It's right in our.
Yes,
as a
you're right,
private road.
I'm not arguing with
It's
that.
not a driveway. Not a driveway.
No. Does it say the driveway has to have the curb cut? It says it has to have a curb cut. That's the definition, not the driveway. Driveway's a separate beast. Yes, it does all go together, but a curb cut is a separate animal. We only regulate the curb cut.
under B, it says each single parcel of land is required to contain a driveway within the required minimum frontage.
Okay, is he showing that? That's what you have to decide.
Correct.
So the 6 of you need to vote, one way or the other, if you'll accept that. And then it's up to him to appeal whatever way you go.
This entire lot already has at least one driveway to use there, and we're switching the big lots access and giving it to that first one. I mean, we're not, we already have the right to have one house come off that driveway, whether it be, you know, it could be the last lot, or we're switching it to the first lot. It's already a driveway. We're not creating a new driveway, there's already a driveway there.
So for that to exist, so that brings up a good point, could you consider lot, and switch the numbering? So lot 150-1 would become 150, which is showing, because that would be the current access.
Yeah, and then 150 becomes -1.
150 becomes -1, Therefore, whatever's done off this later on wouldn't have access off of Saks Road anymore. It would have to come off of Mountain Road.
Right, which we said, what, 690 something?
Yeah, 666 feet plus.
Yeah,
I think,
that's a good way to look at it. I hadn't looked at it that way, Ed, but I'm just trying to think,
Do I need to change the lot numbers, or do we just?
well, I'm thinking if there's I'm just trying to think if there's a legal issue of, because traditionally the parent remaining lot stays with the parent lot number, but is that a tradition or is it a? I don't think it's covered in the RSA.
correct?
Yeah.
And like you said, Ed, this is all brand new to all of us.
Anybody that wants to read it for themselves, if you're interested in the zoning ordinance, it's the very beginning, it's page 2.
Page 2, yeah, the top of the
Article
page.
2, C1, A and B.
Pretty straightforward.
I'm not, and there's so many different things the way this book's written, I'm not seeing, the only thing under lots is it talks about the RSA's on merging lots, which we're not talking about. Let's see if there's anything under access. Yeah, the only thing under RSA 674-24, which is a definition, it describes frontage lot, et cetera, it just, right away, it just says, right-of-way means includes all present and proposed town, state, and federal highways, and the land on either side of same is covered by statutes to determine the widths of right-of-way. So that doesn't write anything. That's a good question, Ed.
We're not creating a new driveway again, a lot, it's been there for a long time, so it's already there.
You bought your land already subdivided, right? Because I'm thinking of his lot, he's lot 1, and the other ones are dashed, and it's alphabetical. And I don't know if yours is the parent lot or not, but you probably bought it already subdivided? The parent lot is out back.
I mean, an option is for us
Yeah.
to put this, to ask our town council to see, without, without forcing the applicant to go to zoning, to, see how they interpret this potential lot layout with that zoning requirement saying that each lot has to have the curb cut on the frontage.
Could I also ask him about switching the lot numbers like you suggested, to see if that
I
was?
would
Okay.
think so. I would be fine with that.
I mean, if we didn't do a subdivision, he already had the right to use that as a driveway to get a house in there. He was just gonna say,
But by doing a subdivision, it puts the entire parcel into have to fall within our current zoning and subdivision regulations. It has to follow the current rules.
this is to make new driveway, but there's our, yeah.
So what you're saying is that if you switch the numbers so that what's now proposed lot 1 becomes takes on the existing lot number, that already had access by Saks Road, so that doesn't change any.
because it'd be good.
Makes it the parent lot.
And then you put the curb cut for,
Which we've already asked them to show on what is now 150 would become
and take,
151.
and again, take it off of Saks Road, the one
Yep,
that's
I'm
on
gonna
there.
take that off.
But it could,
If you're gonna do that anyway, why would you need to do any of the rest of this? If you're gonna take your access off of Saks Road for the parent lot and put it on Mountain Road,
Yeah.
why would you need to switch lot numbers and go to?
Cause I have a grandfathered existing driveway that's already on that. I mean, I could take that note off them, but I don't think I had to do it in the first place, we're just volunteering to do it. That last lot has a right to come off of Saks Road. This whole property has at least one lot that can come off that road. If we didn't subdivide it, he could've got a permit and put a house off Saks Road, because.
That's exactly right, you have one lot that has a right off of Saks Road.
You're asking for two.
No, so we're gonna give away our right on that one and put it on the first lot.
So I guess what, your question is does that still require changing the lot numbers?
Right.
Well, I think to be grandfathered, you would need to at least ask council or somebody to see if you can do that.
But why would you need to if you're not going to have the two lots coming off of Saks Road?
because the
This
way
isn't-
the way it's numbered here, 150-1 is considered, would be considered a new lot. So because it's a new lot, it falls under our zoning. This would be my interpretation.
Yeah, no, and now that I'm thinking about it, and you're right, Ed. So if -1 becomes just 150, and 150 becomes -1, do you think, as a board, that clears up the issue?
The biggest lot isn't always the parent lot. Some towns, they wanna number it and the last lot becomes dash something. there's-
And we have that in Gary's, that whole side of Guile Road when that was subdivided. That's what I was trying to sit here and process whatever
So that
subdivision.
would, I mean, I would prefer, instead of having to go to zoning, prefer us to have, to check with council and just get it, and we can get that probably cleared up before the next meeting.
Hopefully, yep.
And which will allow you to make the other changes or that we've requested and have a nice,
What do you think the town council is gonna tell us other than what we just talked about?
whether or not our interpretation is correct. Because this is talking about zoning, so we're getting into, it's not just subdivision regs where it's a waiver and things like that, and it can be cleared up as easy.
We already have the right to have one, we beat the zoning.
So if he switches lots, numbers I'm talking, does that satisfy our zoning ordinance? If that was numbered 150, do you as a board feel that satisfies the zoning ordinance? Because instead of spending money to ask the attorney, if you think that's gonna work, Sue is the one that handles all the DRA lot numbering laws, like I just asked her in the morning. And the only recommendation, if the board's acceptable to that solution, I would just have you renumber all the lots, so 150, so -2 becomes 1, it just moved the numbers all up subsequently. Because I know in assessing, they like to see the numbers
In
in order.
succession.
Yeah, so -2 becomes -1, -3 becomes 2, et cetera, et cetera. But, it's what you guys think.
I mean, pretty clear, I think.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question, please?
Of course.
Mr. Blaisdell, I need to back up a bit. Why are we not having a curb cut on Mountain Road for that lot 150-1?
To make the site, the 400-foot site distance, he'd have to cut a lot of brush. Then whoever buys the lot will have to cut a lot of brush. So there's already a driveway there, and the building spot is about 300 feet off of Mountain Road. If we use Saks Road, he has to build a
short one.
30-foot driveway.
I see.
And the other thing, when I talked to DOT, their other issue is the amount of traffic on, in the summertime.
in the sight line.
But where
Yeah.
Saks Road's already, we're really only adding one lot that goes down Saks Road that has fairly good sight distance, is what it is.
I'd like to also state, as a homeowner, or owner of the property, there's 2,600 feet from my boundary line at the beginning of Nottingham to the state park. 200-foot frontage gives you an area of approximately 13 lots, sight line and so forth. We cut this down to a 5-lot subdivision, all 5 acres, so that it would be much more conforming to the nature of Nottingham and their building lots. Mr. Falzone came in here with 30 lots, cookie cutter with open space. I did not want to go forward with that at all. I turned it down. I was very considerate of my neighbors and so forth because they were very concerned about building houses on Saks Road, going to the Board of Appeal, et cetera, et cetera. This seems most amenable to the town's requirements. We tried very much to give them plenty of acreage and leave ourselves with one remaining parcel. Because the road was built in 1932 and my grandfather built his driveway, now becomes a big issue of whether we can divide a lot off of this state road. Becomes kind of, I used to be a building commissioner at the time. We had a big thick book in Massachusetts, about so thick. And if you wanted to count the nails in between 4 joists or on flooring every 8 inches, one could do that. But it was, I always expressed it as not a Bible, it is a guideline. What is the intention of the town? What are they trying to produce? They're trying to build nice, safe homes. In this case, I look at it as though you're trying to make a development that would be considered applauded in town. Not one that they come back and say, why did we develop this type of a development? Because of the legalities of the attorneys approaching the board to try to get as many lots as they possibly can. I worked with Roscoe and actually suggested, can't we get another lot? But after looking at it, I said, no, it makes most sense where the brook cuts through the property. Someone would have to be crossing wetlands, it would be very difficult. This seemed to like the most amendable, and at the same time remained keeping Saks Road, which is the wishes of all my neighbors, to remain the same. They did not want to change it. We've approached them, Mr. Falzone approached the board as well, to say, let's make Saks Road Class 5 road and attach it to Beachhead Road, et cetera, and everybody was up in arms. They like to have their little Saks Road, private road, to go to their homes. So I'm trying to conform with their wishes. They were here at the last meeting, concerned about that. They're not here now, meaning that they applauded the direction that it is going, it appears to me, unless they voice differently to others. So my feeling is that we're trying to conform, and as far as the legality of a driveway, it just seems the state would approve going in this direction, and it seems to me the most logical approach. So, I suppose we could argue over, well, it says this in this side, in this section over here says this, in this section over here, and we have an attorney to go ahead and decipher what that means. And in my experience in Massachusetts was the attorney said, we'll represent you either way. And it really makes it difficult. So I feel as though there should be some consideration as to what the intentions are here for a development. Not, just trying to squeeze as many lots as you can, but to give people a reasonable amount of property so they can build a nice home and feel comfortable with their boundary lines. I can't do anything about a road that was put in 1932. That was there. Sorry.
Mr. Sachs, that is all appreciated, and, but this board is legally bound by the zoning ordinance. It's more so, well, the subdivision regs as well, but the zoning ordinance is a legal document that we have to apply, and we have to apply it evenly, to all applicants. So, the question, if we apply it, the letter of the law says that, makes it seem that each of these lots would have to have its curb cut driveway, because it puts it in parentheses, off of Mountain Road.
You can't subtract the driveway that it already has. This entire property already had one, so you can't subtract that for that road, so we're just gonna apply it on the first lot.
Isn't there almost an identical situation right across the street for the fire chief's house that has no curb cut on a shared driveway? The 2 other driveways off of that?
Nothing about that.
Unfortunately, I'm not familiar with those. If it's a shared driveway, shared driveways are allowed for up to 2 residences.
There's 3 on that property?
And that's under the current zoning. I'm not certain what was done when those were created. You know, I can't speak towards those. I can only speak towards what our current zoning regulations state, and then the parcel, that we're discussing. The reason we were saying we could, to ask the town attorney about it would be to try to avoid it, to get a review of the specific language, the specific plan, and whether or not that would meet and satisfy this versus potentially sending you to zoning for
Well,
relief.
do you agree that this entire property has, at least, one lot has the right to use that driveway? I mean, if we didn't do a subdivision, they could have used that to build a house out there. So we already have, that is already a driveway. So,
Well, that's when the driveway permit would come into, and
Legally, it's a private road. The only thing we would make them, if this wasn't a subdivision and they just wanted to build one house anywhere on this property,
Yep.
what we do is we make them sign a letter of liability, excusing the town from any liability if we can't access the property for emergency, et cetera, et cetera. So they would sign that.
and then they'd have their driveway permit off Saks Road.
We don't issue driveway permits on private roads.
Oh, okay.
So that was, they get landowner's permission. Well, in this case, the landowner is the owner of the road. So
Which-
on lot, right now, -1, that sex was bisects. If you decide, yes, that is the existing driveway, I'm just trying to think, do we make them sign the waiver? If that's what we do, is switch the lot numbers, do we just make them sign the waiver? That's usually for houses that don't have any frontage on a town or state road. This, yeah,
Right, and that's where B gets me, because it's each single parcel of land is required to contain a driveway.
Right.
And then a curb cut next to that, within the required minimum frontage, and the required driveway may be either a single or common shared driveway serving no more than 2 residences.
I think we would have to have them sign a waiver anyways, because they're gonna be accessing the building. If that driveway's gonna be on
Saks.
Saks, they're gonna access it that way, and so we're gonna
And
wanna make
when we
sure.
have them sign that is when they come in to get the building permits, that's when we have them sign the
Building
waiver.
permit,
But that's not okay, 'cause it's not, you can't get a waiver.
Liability
from-
waiver,
We
right.
can't give a waiver for zoning though.
No, but if you agree that just by switching the lot numbers, that takes care of the issue, and like I said, I can double check. I know they're looking for conditional approval tonight, I wouldn't recommend that. I mean, I listed the other things down as conditions, there's nothing there that they couldn't get fixed real quick. But this issue, I would recommend that if you guys feel by switching 50 in -1, the lot numbers, just for sake of argument, if that meets the intent, then I'll just double check with Sue tomorrow morning if there's some DRA issue that we normally wouldn't look at. And if the answer is yes, then we'll come back at the next meeting and we'll go from there.
Just to make sure that the applicant potentially knows that by doing so would mean that any future subdivision you wanted to do on the,
big lot.
the 72 acres would no longer have any access rights for a house off of Saks Road. It would have to be coming off Mountain Road, because we would be saying this was kind of grandfathered this is no longer. because
Well,
this is the
their
new-
other option is to upgrade Saks Road,
Right,
but, yeah, the expense of that, because Ken looked at that a while ago.
Or if they built another driveway in
Yeah.
the future. to
Who knows? Yeah, I mean,
Negate it. I mean, I don't see that happening, but.
Right. But you're right, Ed, on that. If there's future subdivision of the 70-plus acres,
so I just wanna make
they
sure.
have to
since that
access
is
that
the larger
off of-
parcel.
right.
I wanna make sure you're.
and what
understand
limits, and
where
be
you're
honest with you,
going
what
anyways.
limits major subdivision on that is there's only 600 feet of frontage, give or take, left on Mountain Road. All the rest is already taken with the proposed lots and lots that were previously subdivided years ago.
And Sue, did the Conservation Commission walk this property at all?
No, no, not yet. We did go down, Sam Demir and I did go down about a year or so ago after it had been logged, because someone in the area wanted us to just take a look and make sure that best practices were being followed, and it looked fine to us. I have to say, personally, I would feel better. I would feel more comfortable if we had a new map in front of us that showed the building envelope as it should be. Because if I gave,
On which lot, Sue?
no, particularly, lot now stated 150-1, where, the calculations, include all of the area that is buildable.
That was the first thing we agreed he had to fix.
Right, but
Yeah.
I want to be able to see that in
Well,
front
yeah,
of
he
me
would have to
before I
submit new
say,
plans in for all of us to review them again
yeah,
anyways.
I don't want that to be conditional.
But my area does not include any 25% slope, and it stops at the road, but I can tell you what the actual figure is.
Yeah, and just
Yeah.
redraw the line.
And I'd like to see it in front of me. Thank you.
Same thing with lot 4, there's a little bit of that. 25 jumps in
If
there.
we go along with what Paul suggested, not giving conditional approval tonight, but doing it at the next meeting, that gives them 2 weeks to do that, to redraw the map
Yeah.
for us to look at.
Yeah, make sure.
Oh, I can have it done. I mean, I'm the only one that came tonight of all you guys.
I mean, the only thing, I mean, all the corrections outside the driveway permit approvals from the state, is an easy fix, it's a drafting fix. DOT right now is, I think
2
you said it
months
earlier,
or more.
they're looking at 2 months, yeah, or more, just in approving driveway permits, they're so backlogged.
But the least that you need to do is talk to Sue tomorrow, make sure that.
If that's what you
if
guys
the
want me
number
to
is
do, yeah.
correct.
But I think, yeah, and I think I would wanna see what the laws are that cite that, and have that as part of the record as well on our decisions,
Any
so.
laws that Sue has?
That
Yeah,
Sue
if anything,
has.
if she says, no, there's no law on it, then, okay, then I'll present that to you. If there's a RSA whatever number,
Or if there's something that
Or
says you
something-
can do it. yeah.
right, then I will definitely make copies and we'll get that to you as well as you guys.
And I don't
We
think
couldn't get conditional approval on a good results from.
I would recommend that they don't, just, everything else, if it was just, if that wasn't the issue, I would recommend it, but for that issue, because there could be, if they conditionally approve it, we kinda are saying that we're taking some of Ken's rights away to go to the ZBA. So that's why.
Yeah,
I
so
would say
that was gonna be
that's-
my next question. So say she comes back and she says to you, nope, can't do it. So I think what would be the next step that we would want to take so that he, Mr. Sachs and Mr. Roscoe don't come back and we're like, oh, nope, didn't work. All right, so this is what you want.
Well,
What's the
Well,
next action
I
we
think the
wanna
next
take?
step would be, after talking with Sue, then if she says, if she can't find something, or the RSA says whatever.
Can't do it.
Yeah, so then what I would do is draft a memo to you, copy to them, saying that due to this issue that we're probably gonna look at ZBA action, recommend that they ask for continuation, similar to what we did earlier this evening.
Okay.
Until such time as ZBA, but that's their decision if they wanna go to ZBA or redesign or,
so concurrently, we can have you go to legal, because that's on us.
Yeah,
It's a cost versus, once we send it to ZBA, that's all the applicant's cost. For something that may be interpreted, may be fine, the legal comes back and just says, yeah, it's not a problem. And then it clears it up for us for the potential, if this happens somewhere else in town where there's another private road, and we have more private roads than just this one.
Again, if we're going to postpone things for 2 weeks, we have the time to get legal opinion on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think plan A is sue, plan B is legal, and then plan C is let them, if legal comes back and says, nope, then they're gonna have to go to the ZBA, so then we've got
3 plans.
3 plans that we can get accomplished in 2 weeks, hopefully, if the attorney is responsive.
Yeah.
May I ask a question? If they approve it, the attorneys and so forth, are you folks all pretty much in favor of all this, or not in favor of this? Because summer's dragging out. If I'm gonna sell a lot, it's gonna be during the summer, it's not gonna be in the winter. We're retired, not that that matters to any of this, but at the same time, we're sitting here saying, okay, let's see if we can get this done soon. And I'm just saying, I wanna get a sense if, at this point, there are more questions that are going to go to zoning, to some other department. I'd like to have a heads up where our journey's gonna go next.
If you're asking whether or not individually people approve of the 5 lot versus the
A sense,
huge,
yes.
big place that you had brought before, this is for self, speaking for myself, I prefer the 5 lots, and these guys all know I feel that way, the bigger lots, because I think, like you said earlier, it's more in keeping with the town's, country, if you will, developments for me.
Yeah,
Thank
we-
you.
My only concern with any of this is when you come back is that you do show a lot buildable area that excludes, draw that out for me, because I'm new to this. I like to be able to see exactly the buildable envelope, and so that would need to exclude those, areas that are a steep slope. But I appreciate you avoiding wetlands, I appreciate you, considering the waterway and the bigger lots, and I thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I think we have to be careful. We have to treat each of these as separate. We can't go by experience of what was before us previously. From, you brought it up and you mentioned it to us, so hypothetically, this versus seeing 30 houses, we can speak towards, but, what I've heard tonight is we've heard Paul's conditions, or items that you've said you'll address. That will make it, I haven't heard anything else come up. We've had a lot of discussion. Doesn't mean something wouldn't come up, but I haven't heard anything else come up that would potentially go to zoning at this point in time. With the exception of, that these lot envelopes are at least 30,000 square feet, contiguous.
So just to review, there's seven items that we discussed. Relocate the driveway on lots -4 and -5, just so it's on the lot line.
Yep.
Redraw the buildable areas on lots -1, -4, we talked about that. Show square footage of all the buildable areas. Driveway approval numbers, okay, that's, revision block update, and actually the monument settings, once we get to that point. And the 7th one is the driveway, Saks Road / driveway issue.
The number 12, that modification to the number 12 note?
That is the whole driveway, yeah, that would not modify, oh, no, that's right, I see what you're saying, yeah, number 12, yeah.
That's, it says existing right of way on Saks Road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
instead of them, yeah.
Thank you.
Known as Saks Road.
Is there anything else the board has?
Just from your
So-
last, your first letter on May 11th.
Yep.
Title block
That's changed?
Yeah.
needs the, street address of property owner.
Well, there's no street address to the lot now, so he's referenced the MAC, and he's changed it to the Saks Realty Trust located in town of Nottingham, so
But that-
there's no
that
street
satisfies-
number, so,
that-
yeah.
Street address, the property owner, the
Yeah.
Saks Realty Trust satisfies that section, okay.
And then we asked him to add notes, and that's 13, 14, and 15 are the new notes that we require now on all plans. The buildable areas we talked about just now, he added in, the legend note we asked for. He added in the status of the roads, private in class 5 for Saxon Mountain respectively. On that one, and then on the overall sheet, he needed to check the abutters, change the abutters, change the title block to show the current owner, as well as show the current proposed lots.
Yeah.
Last was, somewhere in the notes was to update, to specify that Saks Road is the right of way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you already say it?
Yeah, it's, if you look at the new plan, it says Sax Road, private road. And then on Mountain Road, it says Mountain Road, and look at where the lot line for -2 and 3 come together. Mountain Road, class 5, state road.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, no, but I was saying, but
Oh.
the,
He was talking about the note.
The
which
note
showed it.
12.
that,
Oh, no, 12, yeah,
12.
and that's after tonight,
And,
yeah.
and I'll have to make a change to note 11 too.
Structures instead of houses.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, and then taking off
and
whatever
just
the lot
changing lot
numbers
numbers
are.
depending on what the outcome is.
Right,
Right,
right. And then, Paul, you said if, when the building permit for this corner lot, if it's off of Saks Road, it will be a waiver sign for the liability.
oh, the
that you-
proposed -1 right currently.
That one,
Yeah,
that would be signed at that time.
yeah, that's when we sign them.
All right.
And actually, what we normally do is, we have the applicant sign it, and then the Board of Selectmen sign it, because you're the governing agency in that. It's a formality, but it just, and then the applicant himself takes that to the registry.
and then,
Paul's gonna call me after he gets the answer from the attorney, if
Yeah.
changing lot numbers is good. If it is good, I will change my lot numbers, otherwise I won't change them.
that may change note 11 too. Note
Right,
note
yeah.
11 as well.
Okay, now, the other option, we talked about his steps A, B, and C, 1, 2, 3, whatever. If he can gain, is, you know, you look at, note 16, the whole 400 feet of site distance without removing vegetation. If he just goes and applies for a driveway permit off Mountain Road for lot -1, then the whole issue goes away. So that's something you guys have to decide. The current proposed lot
In a
-1.
different location.
Yeah, instead of saying the
Yeah.
proposed driveway comes off Saks, you show a curb cut off of,
I mean, as a last resort, I would, it would just be a
right,
lot
but I'm
of
saying,
expense.
I wanna just spell out all the options.
Yep,
That's
that
one
is
of our
another
options.
option.
That's
Yeah.
what I was originally going for, until I started.
Till we start looking at the land, yeah. Cause I'll be honest with you, Gunnar and I went out and looked at that proposed one, and he was not comfortable with a driveway on a mountain road, just because
Yeah.
it's, if you come from if you're coming from the park back towards Raymond, it, almost by your house, you know what it's like, it comes up a hill and then curves down at the same time. And, I mean, even coming out of Saks Road
So you're out
sometimes,
there within the last month or so with the highway? Okay.
well, with the police chief. We were out there for some.
Oh, Gunner.
Yeah, we were out there for a totally different subject, and I said, oh, while we're here, let's look, yeah. We were doing a joint investigation. I know that didn't sound right when I said it. Yeah, makes happy employees.
What are you growing out there?
That's why you logged everything.
And lastly, the waiver for the,
Oh.
for not showing the topography on the
showing
whole
the
lot,
topo,
just have
it'll
have that
be,
waiver with you, if you can, so that it'll make it a little quicker.
Wasn't there a second waiver too that they were requesting?
well, that was, we were talking about the driveway, and that's gonna take care of that. So it's section 8.3, number 6 of the subdivision.
And we have a form for those waivers,
We do.
correct?
Yeah,
And Paul, so once these get all done or approved, or whatever, and the lots start to get built, because it's so slopey and such, I mean, once the building comes in, I mean, they'll have to propose what erosion plans and
Oh,
such, the
absolutely, yeah.
builders and stuff,
Yeah.
right?
yeah, and on lots like this, what I have people do is actually stake the 4 corners of the house, and then kind of look, say, okay, yeah, let's consider this for, you know, this is up, after you sell them to the builder, this, it has nothing to do with your thing, Ken. So, I mean, you know, if it's a flat piece of land, yeah, okay, we know, pretty much we can see everything, but on this, I make them stake corners of the house, so, number 1, that,
Well, and they'll have to put up
it's-
fencing around some of
right,
these.
the wetland areas and things like that, yep.
And you know where to put the foundation.
Well, that's the other thing too, yeah. Because I have caught, a person did stake it one time, and I drove in, and I'm looking at it and go, did you stake it wrong? No, that's where the buyer wants to build the house. So I took out my tape measure, and he was 3.5 feet from the wetland. Like, that's not gonna work. But yeah, that, we handle that. That's actually part of the building code, the environmental protection things, so.
I'm only asking for one waiver.
I would say one waiver, because the second waiver was the driveway issue, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
It's
So
to
the
be
waiver-
determined.
Yeah, so that would be, yeah. And that, just for the board, that section that I read, 8-3, number 6, is to show existing conditions, and that's the one that talks about contours.
And Sue, the Conservation Commission's good not to,
I'm sorry?
the Conservation Commission's good?
I could bring this map, we have a meeting next Monday, and see, if they wanna take a look-see.
And, fire department doesn't need to review it because they're proposing right from the
Sprinkler
start,
systems.
sprinklers instead of a cistern.
And now, for the Conservation Commission to, go out there, I would imagine that the planning board would want to invite us to do so. Isn't it your purview to ask us to do that? Would-
That's normally, yep.
Okay, rather than just us picking up and tromping over.
But, I mean, you can do that anyways.
Yeah, I think if you
Because
guys,
Ken's already signed the access to the property by town officials. So
Okay.
you're acting as a town official, so you're good.
don't hold it up.
Anything else that you guys see, so we can, and what I'm gonna do is I'll generate a list of all the things we talked about tonight and email it to you, and I'll, Ken, I'll get you a copy too. Come in and talk to me.
I think we covered, we got
You
everything.
got everything? Okay, I just wanna, yeah.
So at this point, I would have to continue.
Do we need to specify all of this?
Just the
No,
case.
just continue.
Continuation to
Okay.
June 22nd, 7 o'clock.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I move that we continue case 16-006 SUV until June 22nd at 7 PM.
Second?
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you. So anybody that has the plans, we'll have new plans, but if you can return those, I'll put them back in the file.
Gary, may I have a copy of the plans for the commission, rather than just have mine?
Do you have a clean copy?
Well, I have one I scribbled on,
Okay, what
But
I
I-
mean for conservation, take a clean.
but, oh. This clean?
One, they're different ones. They're
Oh, but did you scribble on it, or? Yeah, I just want, because we sit in a U like this, and it just would be easier if we had 3 copies.
Oh, absolutely. If you need more, just come in and grab them. We'll give them to you if you need more.
I don't think I messed up.
Okay.
I think these were the ones that were together originally.
Oh, okay. Don't, just throw them all together. We'll sort it out in the morning.
Apologize. I tried to keep them.
Yeah.
Moved over here. Moving on, the next item on the agenda is public meeting for any site plan review comments.
So far, I've received Susan, Charlene's, and yours. I mean, you and I are still talking, we're going over them. It's kind of comical to read, to put the 3 of yours together, because we're all finding the same things, which is a good
Well,
thing.
that's good, though.
We're all finding a good thing, yeah. A couple on yours I can't recommend, because a couple of them, you actually suggested we change the RSA language.
Well, I just, yeah, I was just thinking out loud,
Yeah,
like,
but no, it makes sense, but it's just
Yeah.
like, and Charlene and I talked about this a little early today, and I don't wanna be pushy on this, but right now, we have 3 potential cases for site plans. One is the proposal we saw, a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
They have called and asked some questions just, you know, in general questions. All aboard daycare next to the elementary school wants to do, if they're looking at the finances, to do a new building expansion. They have so many people on their waiting list, it's not even funny. They can't even take care of children they have now that have younger children coming up, they are older, they can't even service their own clients. The third one is, on Route 4, right at the town line, the old Cooper Hill Pizza site, that used car dealer. Right.
Yeah.
The car deal, the town line goes right between the two buildings. So the car dealership is ours. He called me one day this week. The original site plan was just for used car sales way back when, long before any of us were involved. He wants to open it up to do minor repairs so he can be a service inspection station. And he's willing to do the whole, he said he's already contacted a survey to do plans and everything. So, you know, that's why I'm saying is, if they get their applications, then we just have to go with what we have now. And then, not knowing what's gonna go on with a huge piece of acreage on Route 4. You know, we wanna be ready for that.
We have to have a public hearing, though, on these site
Oh,
plans.
yeah, so the steps are,
Schedule.
once everybody gives me their edits, I'll merge it all into the document with Joanna's help. She's the one that keeps me straight on this. And then we'll get a copy to everybody back to look at again. We'll have an open discussion on one of our meetings. I wouldn't recommend the next one because we might be here till late. You know, later on, and then we can, if in our general discussion meeting amongst all of us, we can come up with the final language, and then we'll advertise for the public hearing. Yeah, and this is just like the subdivision elections. We just hold a public hearing, and then at the end of it, we take testimony, then at the end, you guys can continue the public hearing if there's warranted changes we see from the public, or we approve that night.
Did I misread yours, Sue, or did you suggest that this was a bigger project than you thought the planning board could handle without a plan?
I was looking at an old copy. I had, which I tossed.
So you
when I
changed
went-
your mind?
Well, when I went online, I said, oh, the date's the same. I've got that in my book. So I started looking at it and went, holy cow.
So she gets a hold of us, and I hand her the new copy, she goes, well, that's much better.
Much better. Oh, my God.
So
Can
Archival.
you type up the rest that you have, or something's get them to me? Yeah.
the comments you've had so far, like the things I've been seeing are grammatical.
And that's, and yeah, there's a
grammar
few
things.
things that, I can't remember one of the, they're on my desk. One of the changes you and I talked about that I said, yeah.
I don't remember.
I don't either know, was we both flagged it, and I think you flagged a couple of them, the three of us had already said, and there was one when you and I sat 2 weeks ago, after you left, I'm looking at it and going, oh, wait a minute. The two ladies on either side have already, I mean, so we're all on the same page on changes. And again, 90% of that is just cut and pasted out of the subregs. I mean, Charlene did ask me a question a while ago now. Could we reference the subdivision regulations so it's not that thick, the site plan ones? And when I was on with legal counsel about the setback issue, in general, I asked Bart, he goes, site plan and subdivision regulations have to be their own entirety. You can only
Independent.
reference zoning. Yeah,
So,
The standalone.
so that's why everything has to be in there again, yeah.
so I know it's a big document, you know, I know, you know, us as a board, we rely on you for a lot in reviewing applications that come in and going through the steps, but, you know, we are required to know, and each of us apply the whole document to the case.
Right, no, right.
So I'm a little hesitant to say, you know, send it out for review at this point, to see if there's anything we missed, you know, that maybe we should include, or we have included that we shouldn't include, because, you know, we're familiar with our site plan reviews.
Right.
You know, would it be helpful to have someone like, one of the planning commissions look at the document more, not, because we've got the grammar covered, I mean, we can look at that and hammer that out all day, but look at it and say, okay, well, you know, towns around you and other towns, you know, also have this language in, and it might be good for you to have it, and this is why, or
If you
shouldn't
read
have it.
that language from the other towns is already.
It's in there.
Because I
Okay.
pirated it from, I didn't write this off the top of my head. Some sections I did, because I looked at, well, I'm referring back to the subdivision regulations, the steep slopes thing in some of that area, the lot coverage that failed, what, a year or two ago now? If you look at a new subdivision regulations, it's quietly put back in. Yeah, the big difference is they can ask for a waiver instead of ZBA action, but in the site plan regulations, that's what I've looked at. I mean, we didn't, it's up to you guys. I mean, I don't have a problem if you wanna review it for a third party. You know, we do have a little funding for that, but we've pretty much dedicated our planning funding for Bruce Mayberry this year. And I know when we looked at, we had talked about the third party review, the subdivision regulations, we get estimates $500 to $750, hundreds, you know, $500 to $750, and, you know, we probably could find that someplace, but it's up to you guys.
Yeah, I just don't wanna have it held up anymore waiting on the board when we've had it on our laps for how many ever months that you provided to us, but, so, I didn't know, and this again, for the board to talk about, you know, would it be beneficial for us? Would we feel more comfortable, like, sending out, getting it reviewed, say, yep, you know, all you got was grammar and you got it, and we, you know.
And I don't have an issue with that. The only issue I have is you really can't have somebody compare it to other towns, because every town's
Yeah.
unique. We all have our unique things, and, you know, and, because it's all based off the master plan, and our master plan could be totally different than our surrounding neighbors. So that's, if you guys wanna do that, I mean, we can, no.
Go ahead.
No, all I was gonna say is, excuse me, but what we're trying to do is make the subregs and the
Site plan.
site plan coincide. That's all we're
Correct.
really trying to
Yep.
accomplish.
And
We're not trying to change.
right. And if it sounds like I'm pushy, and we kind of talked about this today, it's because the cases, but the other issue is, when I leave for the month of November, I mean, I'm not bragging, but my replacement's just gonna do building. He's not gonna work with the boards, and that's when you guys are gonna be fighting all our zoning changes we're gonna propose, and I'm just trying to lessen your workload.
Oh, no,
Because the way subdivisions are coming in,
yeah, no, I appreciate,
Who knows?
I appreciate the prodding, you
Right.
know, so that's what I'm trying to get,
Yeah,
I don't want,
So part of my thinking was, and I told Paul this, is, so what we have now, what he has submitted to us to review is a huge step up and balances with the subdivisions. It may not be perfect, but it's a lot better than what it was, and it's keeping some consistency, so part of me says, let's just move this forward to the public hearing, and then, you know, and at least we've got some commonality, and it's much better than what it is, and we can always then put it in our, you know, planning for the next go-round that we, you know, because we're always gonna be changing and modifying them,
because
but.
I look at it this way, thinking back to when we formed, how many years ago now, the master plan committee, you didn't update it, you guys did a complete rewrite, because we were so old. Same thing with our site plan regulations, the last time it was updated was 1998.
Right.
I was still in elementary school, I don't know about the rest of you. Watch it. And we had that discussion today too, didn't we? But so that's what I'm saying is, and like Buzz says, we're trying to be the consistency, because I know before some of you, you know, I will say fairly new to the boards, but when I first started here, you look at the zoning, sub, and site plan, and you get 3 total different definitions for the same word.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah.
yeah, so,
So, I mean, so however you guys want to do it,
So when do we have an open meeting?
so I would suggest that everybody gets final edits to Paul for June 22nd. It's 2 weeks. You potentially send out that revision, and the June 22nd, we can schedule would we then schedule the public meeting
well,
for possibly July 13th, our first July meeting?
I would like to have any other changes and edits by, say, in a week, by
Yeah,
next Wednesday. That gives me and Joanna a chance, to, you know, update the document so we get it to everybody. And why I'm saying that is because that Tuesday before the 21st,
Yeah.
we actually have a zoning case that night on the setback issue, and that's usually the day before planning board meetings is usually when we gather in all the information for that night.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that'd be good, and then that night, we can have it ready, the new document, if you will, ready with the updates for you to take home and read, and we'll, because like I say, we got 4 cases, I'll be honest with you, that night, looking at the 4, probably 2 of them, depending, well, no, even that, depends on how zoning rules. The only one we can really do a conditional approval on is the one we had tonight.
We have 3 cases.
So let me,
The
4.
Flutter Street is
Flutter
moved
Street?
to.
Oh, Flutter Street, that's right, it's moved to July, thanks, yeah. So I mean, and no offense to you, Gary, but Gary's plan in the Smoke Street one, depending on what ZBA does, they may have to rewrite complete plans, so they'll automatically ask for that continuation again.
So what we're really talking about is July 27th, right? That's the next,
Is
that's
that
the
when the
only
next-
scheduled meeting in July.
What about the beginning of July?
Yeah, we've got July 13th.
we must have the 13th, because we just gave ourselves that. Meaning,
July 13th.
we continued a case till then.
July 13th, July
Well, but I was Buzz saying that we may end up continuing cases to that.
No, I thought we were only having 1 meeting a month.
Well,
If there was no
if
work
there
to
was
do.
no workload.
Right.
I mean, we've
Yeah.
got 4 cases right now, and talking with the proposal of the commercial, the concurrent one on Route 4, when I talk to them, they are trying to really get this in no later than first or second week of July to schedule a hearing. So, and to be honest with you, Flutter Street again, we're not even here until July 13th, so there's gonna be 2 cases, and depending on what happens with ZBA, come to June 22nd, we may be continuing cases into July.
But let me ask this, how many folks need more time to review what Paul sent to us?
I just had minor grammar things, which. that
Ed and I
sounds-
started going over his the last meeting, but then we looked at the clock, it was what, 10:30 or something, we're both like, let's go home.
And everybody else is good? All right, so all you're waiting for is Ed's, write-up,
Yep,
and then everybody.
One final
Are you
opportunity
good?
for the members that aren't.
yeah, if anybody else has
To
anything.
get it. So
Right,
that's by June 15th, put it on the June 22nd calendar,
yep.
and then, but the public meeting would be, we would then schedule it.
We would schedule the public hearing that, on the, if everybody's okay on the 22nd, we'll schedule the public hearing.
At that point,
Yep,
got it.
it would probably be the later in July, just
The second meeting.
the second meeting, just so we can devote that night and any other small little stuff we got.
So just clear, so the only one that you're waiting for is Ed, so once you get Ed's, then you guys
Unless,
can,
do you guys have anything?
no, they said they're good.
Potentially Dirk and John. I
Don't
don't know.
get anything, I'm good.
Oh, yeah, Dirk and John.
Yeah, I've talked to John, he was like, he was kinda relying on you guys to make all the, like, we've already talked grammar and stuff. And, yeah, Dirk, we haven't heard, and again, well, you saw, he just emailed us late today, thing that came up. We'll shoot him an email, just as a reminder. Yeah, and if you guys change your mind, you got anything, just zip it to me, or Joanne, either one of us, doesn't matter.
Next item, public comment. This point of the meeting is when we reserve for public comment, which is the time for anyone from the public to come in and speak about concerns or questions that they may have. We can't discuss specific properties or projects. But seeing that there's no one here, just let you know if anybody's watching, this is on every agenda, so you always have the chance to come in and talk to us. Moving on. Board of Selectmen and staff board members updates. So we'll start with the Board of Selectmen rep this time.
So we went through, the master plan, our responsibilities, which was really good. Some of the stuff that we're working on. I think the 2 things that we looked at that we are gonna put some action towards is, when we meet with the Conservation Commission in the next quarter, which is, I think is gonna be around September timeframe. There was quite a few things in the natural resource chapter that we wanna talk to them about and get their input, and then on the, it's either called the historical or the heritage chapter, I think it's the historical. A lot of things there too that, look really exciting, that will either help us build up to the 300th, or be part of it, so we are going to, set a time to meet with the, Historical Society, is that what they call themselves? To get their input and get their feedback and discuss some of those items. So that was, I thought those were, you know, two good outcomes from doing those reviews. And other than that, everything is status quo, so, and I'll celebrate that.
I'll go around the table, I'll start on the right with Mr. Davies, the updates. Mrs. Bascom?
Joanna and I went to training last weekend on Saturday, and I went to the planning board basics, went into them in 2 separate sessions on that, and found out that we are actually in really good standing here with our planning board. Some communities don't have a master plan, or they have them, but they're extremely old. Some don't have impact fees, and we're asking questions about that. A couple of things we found out about minutes were that if there's a continuance, you don't close the public hearing, which we did tonight. You have, and then you reopen it at the next meeting. But you don't close it because you can't. And they also suggested that in minutes you don't verbatim people. Instead, you just summarize what has been discussed. They said that not every community records audio and video on them, but for those of us that do, you have to keep it forever, and that is your verbatim for any court cases that should happen to come before them. So that's one of the reasons they don't feel you have to verbatim on your minutes.
As for the recording,
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
keep them forever?
Under the recordings, yeah, we actually, there's an RSA that says what town records. I thought Chris had given you guys a copy of that. There's some we have to keep for like 3 years and 7 years and 15 years and until we all are dust in the wind.
but not like this.
Yes.
Yeah,
That.
No, so, cause I just went to the selectmen's training, and
Yeah.
that isn't what,
Right.
That's what the legal,
they said we need to keep the draft of the minutes, which was new to me.
your draft, they didn't say anything about the draft of minutes, except that that had to be available within 5
Right.
days. But they said that your packets, or what you keep for your planning board, would be your minutes, any of the papers that come in our binder,
Right.
and your audiovisual, if you have that of your meeting.
yeah, so like the information in the binders goes in the individual files, so we have them. Recordings, because what would happen is, let's say 5 years from now, somebody comes back and legally challenges us on a project that was approved. And I'll reference the USA Spring case, we actually had to do a typed verbatim, and we had it on, luckily we had it on cassette tapes, and I remember Kelly spent hours on that. Now we don't have the, you know, we use the video, so and we've had people ask us for copies of the video. And that's, so it becomes a storage issue.
Yes.
Because if you save it to some type of media device, eventually they wear down. And when Chris and I have been talking over the whole record storage system for all the town, we're like, how do you prevent that? There's no technology out there. I mean, eventually CDs,
Well, that's
Become a-
interesting, cause that's
Yeah.
different than what they
yeah.
told us, so.
See, they went to the OEP one, you went to the
We went,
municipal association.
I went to the, yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's what they had said, and they
Yeah.
also said that, the town clerk is not the one who's responsible for doing up the minutes verbatim. If it should go to a court case, it's actually the lawyers that would do that. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, that was one of the other things they mentioned. Was there anything else, Joanna, that we wanted to bring up?
The walkways, the healthy
Oh.
living in Hampshire.
Yes, they said that because for towns that had state roads, and I was just talking with Charlene about this a little bit ago, for a town that has state roads going through, for the communities for healthy living, they're asking towns to consider petitioning the state for walkways or bike pathways. And I said, I just walked from my house to here earlier, and there's no way people are going 30 on the road.
No, no.
Let alone even the 40 further down. It would be nice if we could get a walkway or a bike path, and it wouldn't be a town fee, it would be the state that would do it. And yeah, we all pay for it in the end anyway, but
Well, the issue on that too is, because at home, we petition them to do it, and then they back the selectmen back. We're doing a safe route for kids then, because we have that walkable downtown. But up on 28, we looked at that, extending sidewalks and stuff. State says, no problem, we can build it, you have to maintain it. And legally, you have to snow plow it, you have to, I mean, we have sidewalks in town, and it takes them 3 days to clear the sidewalks, that's how many we have, so.
That's in the, it is in the master plan.
It's part of the master
I
plan.
know,
and
and I
that's-
think it's in the
Master plan is-
transportation, isn't it
In
the
the
regional
trans-
transportation?
Right, and in that transportation
DOT.
meeting, we went to the regional one, we talked, yeah, you guys were there.
I
for
think
that.
as they upgrade the
Talked about
roads, they talk about putting those in, the state,
Cause if you know, like,
I think they've been
I
hesitant.
use the
to
example,
go back and
Route
do it.
4 in Chichester, when they upgraded that intersection with the lights, which they're gonna be upgrading again this summer, so that's gonna be fun. They've installed a sidewalk. Anytime the state gets federal money, they have to install a sidewalk automatically. Like, if they replace this bridge, they'd have to extend the sidewalks, and I don't know the exact figure off my head, so many feet either side of the bridge. But you're right, I mean, I see a lot of people walking out here, and we're just, thankfully, no one's got killed yet.
yeah, and we have 152, and we have Route 4, and we have 156. Those are all areas that could potentially increase the walkway, and then their big push is to have healthier communities. They were encouraging, planning boards not prohibiting farming, not prohibiting farm stands and all of those things, which kind of keep everything local and improving the health of the community. That was the whole, first hour or so of the conference was talking about that. How do you make your community, make it healthier?
And that's one of the things when we wrote the subdivision regulations for what we can control, that's why we wrote it in the whole sidewalk type parts. If you're gonna do it, we want it so much. So, I mean, yeah, and, cause what was it, almost a year ago, we had that transportation meeting we went to? With Cynthia?
Yeah, Stratford
Yeah,
Regional.
10-year plan, and that was one of the things Rockingham, or pretty much southern New Hampshire's looking at, is that's a big push, but
Well, what's very happening a lot too, I see within the Stratford regional realm is bike paths. There's quite a few of those going in as projects in the state. So probably maybe a little more palatable than the sidewalks.
And what kind of ties our hands in my view of things is we don't have if you wanna call it a town center, picture a Raymond or an Epping, they kinda have a centralized downtown. And we don't have a rail line going, an old rail line going through town. So I mean, where do we look at?
Yeah, they actually-
Someone suggested to me, a bike trail at the Marston property. Ride in a circle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We do have Pawtucket, which is nice, cause that
Right,
does
and,
promote a
and,
lot of
and at
healthy,
Marston, there's proposed
activities
walking
there.
trails in that plan. So I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
but it was interesting. I was very grateful to have attended. It did not cover maps.
You have to
so
do the
they had to
coloring
do a
one.
map list.
Yeah, you'll have to
That
sign
was the
up for
OEP
that.
conference, right?
Pardon me?
This is the OEP conference, yeah.
Oh, that was the OEP that you went,
Yes,
okay, I'm
yes.
confusing them,
The coloring map class is usually hosted, I forget the name of the group, in Greenland at the Audubon Society facility there on Great Bay. And they usually have, I forget her name, she used to be the planner
yeah. In
for
Exeter,
Exeter, right, and,
she's good.
she's really good. It was a fun class.
She offers to also come in
And-
She'll do it to boards,
to
individual
boards.
Do a
boards, yeah.
presentation.
Yeah,
Right.
a fee, but to do the same presentation basically that she did at
Yeah.
OEP, but for a much smaller scale, obviously. And it is useful, for anybody that hasn't been to it, it's extremely useful, 'cause it shows up, even if you think you know how to read a plan, it definitely helps to kind of see some additional things that you may be missing or just strengthen your strength in it.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. I have no updates.
I'd like to ask, Charlene a question based on what Teresa just covered on safer communities. What's the possibility of having a sidewalk that goes across 152 from the library to the Old Town Hall, where there tends to be a lot of functions, and some of them...
A sidewalk?
Crosswalk.
A crosswalk, I
I
mean.
thought there was one.
No, can I answer that?
Yes.
We actually, because we're gonna be renting out the Old Town Hall to a daycare starting in the fall, that's one of the things that Chris looked into with the state, and they said absolutely not, because it is too dangerous because of the intersection of 56 and 52.
But wasn't there, I thought like, maybe when you were, I thought there was,
See, I always thought there was two.
no, I thought there was, like, one just showed up like that, they did, I thought, what, were you, I thought there was one there for a little while, that they painted it. And the state did it.
I asked a former town official, and the information that she got back to me was, I think our highway guys did it in the middle of the night. You know, it's one, I'm exaggerating, but it was kind of one of them deals. But the state, I mean, we looked at that because of, we're gonna be using the Old Town Hall more, and it'd be great for access to the library, and
Did they suggest any additional safety measures, people crossing the street?
we'd have to ask Chris, because he's the one that talked with him. He just got back to me when we were inspecting the Old Town Hall to see if it would work.
I'll
so-
follow up with Chris and see.
Yeah.
Okay,
In
thank you,
future, 'cause
Charlene.
again, that's part of the transportation plan wasn't it?
That whole intersection, we're doing that whole
152,
intersection.
156.
Yeah,
There was
yeah.
two, I think, a couple of things in the town, so it's request to add the bike
Yeah.
lanes, the intersection of 152 and 4, and 156 and 152 were
Yeah.
the two red flag
The two
items.
big ones, yeah.
Make that 156 a T intersection.
Same thing with 152 and 4, yeah.
Because right now, you see so many tractor trailers that are coming from 156 from Raymond, will go down by Lyers, across from your house almost, so they can make a right-hand turn, instead of trying to,
Because they can't see.
they can't see. Because
See.
there was one the other day, I was coming from this way to go to 156, and he was at the intersection, and he must never, you could see the look in this poor guy's face, he's like, what do I do now? I can't back up, this car's behind me, this car's coming. So, he kinda just kept creeping out.
So that's one thing I should add, can I add something?
I think,
Make it quick.
You're responding.
So one other thing that the Board of Selectmen has worked on, there's a public hearing at our next meeting, which is June 13th, is weight limit, or what's commonly known as no-through trucking on several roads identified between residents that live on those roads and the police chief. So, so June 13th is the public hearing for that.
Good.
next one.
Is that seasonal or year round?
That'd be year-round.
So I have a little bit more. The Conservation Commission has started the river testing program, and we test the quality of river water at 3 sites in Nottingham, and we just started last weekend. We do 2 sites on the North River, and then we also do the Little River. But we also need from the community membership from up to 3 residents to sit on the Lamprey River Advisory Committee. This is a regional committee that oversees all applications that have wetland impacts, including developments or wetland crossings. And as of now, we have no representation on the Lamprey River Advisory Committee. So I'm putting the appeal out to residents.
So where on the North River do you guys test?
Down on McCrillis, right at the bridge on
Okay.
McCrillis, and then on Freeman Hall, up past Larry's. There's a bridge there,
Where'd you be? It comes out
Freeman Hall Road.
right near there,
Yeah, where Priest Road comes out.
between the two, yeah.
Okay.
And then on the Little River, also at the bridge, going up a bit.
Okay.
And we've been doing this for over 10 years, I think. Every 2 weeks, starting in May, and then it extends into September.
it's the Volunteer River Assessment Program through the state, and it's done all over the state, and
It's a federal program, actually,
so it's,
VRAC.
it's a way to get free testing done, but for the, because instead of sending out state employees, you have volunteers do it, and then they can respond, since there is 10 years of data, if they automatically start seeing like a big spike in one of the items you're testing, they can go and immediately try to figure out what's going on.
When did you do the last one?
Well, last weekend, but 2 of the meters didn't work, so we said, well,
It's every,
thank you. So we'll
It'd be
come send them.
interesting to see if you see differences on Freeman Hall Road Bridge one.
it's every 2 weeks during the summer.
Well, the conductivity is usually pretty high there, and it's been that way.
Because there was a beaver dam there that got,
Broken?
broken.
Oh, that will be interesting to see if there's any changes. Yeah. Teresa, the Lamprey River Advisory Committee is actually an arm of DES. So when applications go to DES, they farm them out to these regional advisory committees because they would be better situated and knowledgeable about their regional area. So,
So is anyone going to the DES inflow it's like inflow information meeting?
I saw that come across the email, but I don't know.
It's like during the day.
Yeah. That's it for me.
Mr. Anderson?
Yeah, the 26th Stratford Regional had a annual commissioner meeting over at UNH, and there was a 4-panel team, and mainly had covering the subject of climate change and kind of looking at it from a planning standpoint, and how to prepare for possible problems, etc. So mainly the title is a look at academic research and integration with regional planning. So there was a person from DES, also somebody that was studying climate change from UNH. So she was really the resource for the information, the science part of things. Jack Betty also spoke, and he contributed some information, especially about a project in Dover that he's been working on for a number of years, having to do with the river that comes into Dover. And also Senator Waters, who's out of, in the Barrington, Rollins, or Somersworth and Dover area. And he was, mainly explaining how to, get the word out, how it's important to make it known that, this is something to look at. So it was, kind of a group effort in this panel. And, one of the main things that's done is, computer modeling in this information stage, and what was studied mainly was around the Bay Area, actually, Portsmouth and the water areas. That's actually almost a complete study now, and is what this girl from UNH brought. But they're also going into Newmarket as a next study, looking at mainly changes in sea levels, changes in groundwater, all the effects. So a lot of information was put out there. There was probably, I was guessing 60 or 70 people attended, so it was quite a good few hours.
So they're looking at the impact of rising seawater to fresh water? And
Yeah, how it affects fresh water, how it might affect roadways, even how, how septics might come into play. There's a lot to look at, and a couple handouts I could actually pass out.
That's one thing. I know Florida's experiencing that with so the rising sea level. It's not just the flooding issue, it's the saltwater intrusion on your groundwater that ends up turning your regular drinking water into brackish, and becomes much more expensive to treat at that point to get it to drinking water standards.
So that was the main focus, was kind of looking at the rising seawater and not necessarily like one day it's beautiful and the next day we're having a tornado? Or,
Well, you know, I think all of that comes into play when
Right.
you're looking at changes, sea levels and how that, it was mostly about, you know, groundwater and seawater.
yeah,
And where how that affects things, and, you know, I think when you're, from a planning point of view, you know, why are our roadways failing, you know, and is it because, you know, the water levels have changed?
There's a little bit here about extreme precipitation. Northeast experienced a 50% increase in total annual precipitation from storms classified between 1901 and 2012. So in addition to the rising seas, is extreme events.
Couple of things real quick. As Susan said, they're looking for members for the Lamprey Committee, but also anybody that's interested in being an alternate to either the planning board or the zoning board, we still have openings. So please contact the office and we'll get you the information, or come join us at a meeting. It's the best way to see what we do. The other issue I have, is not issue, the other item, tomorrow night, in the town of Raymond, we got an abutters notice for a regional impact hearing. Back in 2007, the Raymond Planning Board had approved a project called Granite Meadows. It's off exit 4. It
Oh,
was-
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was a multiple-use shopping center, hotel, condo
Right.
type things. And if you guys can remember, the, what did they call it? The sewer overlay district, the town had to vote to expand it, and it failed. So they are having a planning board meeting tomorrow night, because that approval of the original site plan expires at the end of this month. So this basically is a continuation to extend that, but because it is a regional, recognized as a regional impact, it's actually tomorrow night, 7 o'clock at the high school library.
Not a lot of room in there, so get there early.
Is there, I've never been in, there, I've only been in the gym, so. That
About
is
the size of
tomorrow
this room.
night. Yep. And if somebody can go, I think it's highly I think it's highly recommended, because that will affect us,
oh, yeah.
big time. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Joanna, I'm sorry, I skipped you, did you? Okay, now you had the OEP as well, so,
Can anybody go to that meeting? If not, I'll make it.
I mean, I think it's important we have at least one of us, you know, somebody there representing Nottingham, because there's a lot of information that's coming out.
yeah, so any of us.
I mean, and the bottom line is to find out, you know, if they grant them the continuance.
Yeah, that's, I'm
Because
just
I
gonna
know,
listen,
when
because
I've
I
talked
won't.
with the counterparts in Raymond, the town hopes to put it back on the ballot at the next town meeting to redo the sewer overlay.
So it's
extended
probably
again,
continuing, thinking of continuing it until that vote.
Yeah,
Possibly.
I don't know what they're gonna do, yeah. You know, yeah, it's a ways away, but physically, but it's still gonna affect us, because if a project that big comes in a neighboring town, we're gonna see overflow from it, in residential use or whatever, yeah.
Dark skies,
What's that?
dark skies. Oh, well.
Neon lights.
That brings us,
At least you'd be able to find your way to Raymond.
Follow the glow.
I know we're running late, but I think we can get through this pretty quick. The approval of the minutes for May 11th and May 25th, 2016.
They've already been edited, right?
I have.
May 25th, I had just suggested Charlene's name had been left off, so as an attendance, being here.
And I have another for May 11th.
All right, so I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes, May 11th, 2016.
Second. Oh,
Any discussion?
yes, on line 219, strike than, THAN, and insert then, THEN, Mr. Mayberry.
That was on the 11th, Sue?
That was the 11th,
Yeah, I'll
correct.
copy that, yeah.
Yeah, line 219.
Was that it?
Is it,
That was it.
any further
Bill.
discussion? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
I'll abstain.
So it carries 5-0-1.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from May 25th, 2016.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Gary, Mr. Anderson. So the only edit I had was, just adding Ms. Anderson's name to the top.
Yep.
As
Yep.
a
That was
president.
Yep.
Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? No, motion carries 6-0. That brings
Move
us
we adjourn?
to that. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned, 6-0.